Achieving a gorgeous grin from home isn't a total mystery with Byte Clear aligners. Just don't be surprised if all of your sleuthing friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Byte Clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Aptitude, expertise, genius, gift.
I'm the fucking talent. Hey, what's happening, Mike Schmidt? Who knows? Who knows what show it is? I don't know. You probably know because of the music. You've already heard the music and there's a title and stuff already. But as I record this, I don't know what show this is going to be. Who knows? It all depends on how long I talk. I don't know. See, I'm a coin flip these days. Can you? I'm sorry. Can you hear my throat? How do I sound? Let's put that out there right now for everybody. How do I sound? Because no matter how I sound better than. Oh wait, my computer. We've got an update for you. You know, it's great. I think it would be really cool if all of a sudden in the middle of recording, in the middle. What if this is the middle? What if I do a 70-second show? My computer just goes, yeah, sorry, we're going to update now. After you've gone fucking 4 days or whatever the fuck without talking to anybody. I'm sleeping weird hours. Let's get this out of the way. First of all, I'm still positive. I don't know. For those of you, for those about to rock, first of all, we salute you. I'll tell you that right now. But for those of you just tuning in, perhaps you can hear, I got throat clams, that's all. My head is a fucking mucus bank. It's fucking ridiculous. I don't know how to explain it. It's the only, because I'm, everybody talks about symptoms or asymptomatic or whatever the fuck. See, I sound like garbage to me. I hope I don't sound so bad to you guys. But it's because I have a roach glue trap in my throat, and every time I talk, it sticks, and it feels like you can hear that my head is filled with fucking pus. It's so fucking strange. By the way, I can't believe I said mucus bank. You know what that makes me think of? There was a commercial when I was a kid for kids' banks, and they were shaped like Mickey Mouse and who else? Like Fred Flintstone, I think. But the one I remember the most is Popeye. And there was a commercial, and it was these little kids, and they would have their bank, and then they would say, "Penny for a gumball, Popeye." And they would put the penny in there and say, "Thanks for the gumball." And so now I'm thinking of a mucus bank. "Penny for your mucus, Mike." "Oh, thanks for the mucus." Also, I remember this. That was when I was a little kid, those banks. And they're terrifying looking because they're see-through. Okay, like if you had like a Fred Flintstone head and he had a skin tone, you'd be like, all right, well, there's Fred Flintstone, and he's kind of a bank. You put a buck in him or whatever the fuck, and all of a sudden, hey, gumballs come out of his fucking ears or whatever. But like Popeye and all, they had no skin tone. They were see-through. It was almost like that, the Illustrated Human or whatever the fuck, when you would get that toy where you could see somebody's liver, which, again, you know what kids love? Seeing the liver of their dolls. I can't tell you how many times my action figures with G.I. Joe, I'm like, I wonder what his liver looks like. And let's be honest, his liver was really swollen. There's no doubt that G.I. Joe had liver problems. He may have been jaundiced, quite frankly, from spending so much time in the jungle. I can't imagine seeing G.I. Joe's liver. But with the Illustrated guy, they would give him to you, and you could see through him, and you could cut him, kind of break him open and look inside and see his lungs and shit like that. But I always, again, though, if you're going to do that with the Illustrated Man, give me the option to see He-Man's lungs. I demand to see He-Man's lungs. I want to cut open Skeletor, and I want to see what he's got inside there. I want to look. Have you ever really played with a doll unless you've seen its spleen? I don't think you have. I demand to see, like, cut open one of the Avengers and see their spleen. Do the Avengers even have a spleen? Like, does the Hulk have a green spleen? Probably, right? Wouldn't you think so? I don't know. I have no idea about the Hulk spleen. And you know what? I don't want to discuss it any further. So I think I sound okay. But again, no matter how I sound now, I sound a million times better than I've sounded. And I've still tested positive, and I'm fucking sick of it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I tested positive 4 times so far, and I'm waiting, like a couple days or whatever the fuck. And my friends are like, "Well, do you have symptoms? Are you asymptomatic?" And I'm like, other than the fact that my head is filled with goo, no, I don't. I'm tired a lot still. That kind of thing is happening. And you know what drives me fucking crazy about this is I don't get sick. And you're like, well, no, you get sick a lot. I don't really. I've only had like the flu once in the past 4 years, and I get the shots, and I get the fucking the vaccinations, all that shit. And I'm juiced. I'm juiced to the fucking tits. So for me to get this fucking, I'm so pissed. And look, it makes sense. All right, you know what I mean. It's been 5 fucking years. Why wouldn't I get it? Even as vaccinated as I was, but I mean, I've been all over the fucking place and doing all sorts of things. Like I'm driving every night. I got 20 strangers in my fucking car. Who the fuck knows if they're taking care of themselves? It was really only, I mean, I was just spinning a roulette wheel to see when I was going to wind up with the preeminent disease of the past century. You heard me right. Take that, AIDS. How about that? You want to step to me? Who wants a piece of me? You want a piece of me, AIDS? I don't think so. I shouldn't say that. I'm you know what? I'm actually susceptible right now. I could be, anything could take me down. I'm like a weak lion in the bush, and all the other jungle animals were like, oh, look at that lion. He's all fucked up, and now AIDS and everybody's going to come fucking running for me. I was talking to my buddy Dennis, and he's, he's had it twice. And that's another thing. It's like everybody I know has had it like fucking 2 and 3 times. So I got it, and I hate getting it because I didn't want to get it. I wanted to be the guy who never got it, because also now, and I know I'm going to sound like a fucking chicken, but now I keep Googling it. So just the fact that I'm still positive. This is another thing. All my friends who had it, they come rolling out of the woodwork now, and they're like, oh, I was positive for 3 weeks. What the fuck? That's fucking insane. And I will say this, I love my friends. The conversation doesn't go much past that, because I don't want to go, well, what did you do? Because I know their answer is going to be, I just went and lived my life. I went out. I didn't, whatever. What am I going to do? Sit in my house for 3 weeks? And I understand that. But having gone through the pandemic and talked to you guys and said, oh man, we got to wear a mask, you got to do what you can to take care of other people and all that shit. I've only left the apartment a couple times with this. I know you're supposed to be quarantined, whatever the fuck, but I burned through my Theraflu. Again, I was taking expired medicine. All right. I had, because again, truthfully, I don't get sick. So I had fucking Theraflu from like 2022 here in my house, right? Expired in April of 2022 or whatever. So that was what I was going to take. And I had to take, 2 daytimes and then a nighttime one every day. You burn it. So I burnt through it. And I'm like, fuck, I got to get some more. So I went out. And I wore, the N95 or whatever the fuck that is. I had that mask. I only have a couple of those. And I will say this, like the second time I went out, the N95 it's the one I always throw on when I go with Lily. We go out or wherever. I have to wear a mask with her everywhere all the time. And it fucking snapped. And get this. So I fucking pull the thing over my head, and as I pull it over my head, it fucking snaps and it hits me in the eye, the fucking band. So now I've got COVID and I'm half blind in my eye. So you want to talk about thanks for the mucus, Popeye? Thanks for the mucus. Or here's Petty for your mucus, Popeye. I'm just walking around with one eye fucking pinched closed and half a mask on. It was fucking terrible. So I had to pull another N95 out and throw that on. And I went to the store and I had to buy fucking Theraflu and there's, you can buy the Alka-Seltzer one, you can buy the Theraflu one, and they're all lemon honey. Although I guess I found fucking Theraflu Berry Burst just tonight because I burned through the new shit I bought. I know you're like, what the fuck? Yes, because it's been a fucking week and I'm drinking 2 or 3 of those a day, because the whole point was it said medicate yourself and fluids and rest. So, that's what I'm doing. And it feels like 2019 again, or 2020 or whatever the fuck that was, because I have no fucking bedtime. I have no fucking rules. I don't have to do anything. So, and I do, because I'm going to wind up in the fucking poorhouse if I don't get back in the goddamn car. But testing positive, it just feels stupid, especially to drive people around. And truthfully, look, I'm a selfish dick. I don't want to go out in a mask and drive, because then I'll be in the car for like 11 hours with a mask on and then just fucking half sweaty and feeling weird and shit. And I already snapped one fucking mask. Who knows how many more I can burn through? God, I don't know, man. But what I do know is that I've gone through a fucking box and a half of Kleenex, just coughing shit up. And because that's another thing too, is it's not, I mean, it's coming out of everywhere. It's coming out of fucking my nose, my throat, my mouth. And that's why I ask how I sound. I mean, I still think I sound like I have a filter in my throat or something like that. But I sound so much better. It literally sounds like I took a plunger and I took whatever the fuck, shoved it down my throat and cleaned it out, which I did not do, by the way. I don't have, I got a big mouth, but I don't have a mouth big enough to fucking deep throat a plunger. Although, who knows, man? I got nothing to do these fucking days. Maybe I give it a shot. Are there little throat plungers? Maybe we invent those. Let's do that, guys. You know what I mean? I on the previous Ghostbusters show, I invented a Dan Aykroyd and Patton Oswalt father-son team going out and solving a bunch of crimes and being all verbiage and stuff. Now I've invented the throat plunger. You just throw it down there and just and put it right by your fucking epiglottis. Or is that your epiglottis? Is that your skin? I don't even fucking remember. I know there's your uvula. Epiglottis, isn't that the fucking like that thing in the back of your fucking throat? I have no idea. Now I got to sip water. I don't know. I don't think a throat plunger is a good idea, because you should be swabbing cultures. You shouldn't be like. Boy, that's a noise I never thought I'd make on the show. But I've had to go out, so I had to go buy medicine and food, because I've eaten nothing but fucking Theraflu and soup for a week. And when I say soup, like I got cup noodles, I got cans of soup, right? But I wanted to bite something. I had to bite something. It's certainly a bite noodles, but it's not like a real bite. You know what I mean? So I had to buy some. I went to the store and I bought some ham and bread, just so I could make a fucking ham sandwich. And I will say this. I actually stopped. All right, I know. I'm a child, okay? So as I'm sick, I'm like, I should go get some stuff that I would like, because I'm trapped in the house. And certainly candy bars would be on that list, as everybody fucking knows. But also, I was like, oh man, you know what I want? Soda. So I did this at the store. You're going to, again, I know, because I just said a second ago I have no money because I'm not driving, and I get it, which is fine. But at the same time, it's like I can't just sit here and eat broth, right? I can't fucking just eat broth. I'm a child. So here's something I bought that I shouldn't have bought, and I haven't been to the gym, but it's like I told you, when I'm sick, man, I just want to fucking moan and hold my balls, and also I want to eat fucking, I'm like, all right, because I'm 8 years old. So I bought drumsticks, the ice cream cones, because they were on sale at Ralph's. There was like a digital coupon it was like $3 off or whatever the fuck. So I was like, all right, I'll get a box of drumsticks, throw those in the freezer. And then when I was walking down one of the aisles, because I was looking for medicine and just kind of roaming through the store. Honestly, it was just good to be out of the house, the apartment, whatever the fuck. And so I walked down the cereal aisle, because I was like, should I get some cereal? But then I was like, never, because if I get cereal, I got to get milk, and I can't get milk because I'll have a fucked up throat. So, but I did see Pop-Tarts. And, look, Pop-Tarts, as we all know, any technological advance is going to start in the porn industry. And then eventually, 6 months later, everyone will adapt it in regular mainstream technology. Well, that's the way it is with flavors and food. One of the first places where you're going to find innovation is in the Pop-Tarts. And, in the past, they've had like Sprinkle Sundae and all these different flavors. And look, there's certainly the old school flavors that I love, the chocolate fudge and the frosted raspberry. And I like a frosted cherry. And so I'm looking at the shelves, but also they had, get this, what they had. Here's what they had. Frosted banana bread Pop-Tarts. And here was the problem, because it said it was 4 boxes for $10, and normally they're like $4.50 a box or something like that. But I'm like, $2.50 a box, that's a pretty good deal. I go, you know what? I'll just get a box of these, and I grabbed the frosted banana bread, and I was like, well, wait a minute, if I can get 2 for $5, why wouldn't I get like one? Because I like the fruit ones, so I said I'll get a frosted raspberry, and I grabbed that. And then as I was grabbing frosted raspberry, 2 boxes down there was the frosted cherry. And in my brain, I was like, you know what? I like the fruits. If I got a couple of fruit boxes and then I can mix in the banana bread, it'd be and then I saw the chocolate fudge and I go, well, that's been your favorite forever. That's like your all-time one. Whenever I would eat Fruity Pebbles, I would eat Fruity Pebbles with chocolate fudge, and it would be like a fruit and chocolate extravaganza. And this is my fat brain getting involved, and you know this. So because the math worked, and it was 4 boxes for $10. I bought 4 boxes of Pop-Tarts, man, and a box of 8 drumsticks, and then you're probably like, well, why the fuck are you buying candy bars? Look, you know why? Because that's the security blanket. Because I can look on the table and they're there, and I know how that sounds. Even at the age of 56, I know how terrible that sounds. But the fact that I can, when I get down, like if I have candy bars in my house and I get down to just one, in my brain I'm like, if I eat that, it's gone. And there's been plenty of times when I've kicked them and I haven't eaten them for a fucking year. You know that. But look, guys, I'm sick. Boo-hoo, right? So it makes me feel good to know that they're there. It's a security blanket. It is. And like I said, that thing where you're good to yourself, or you indulge yourself. Like, it's not even good to yourself. It's not good to eat all this sugar and die, but you indulge yourself because you can just knowing. I'm trapped in the house and I can't fucking do anything and I can't go anywhere, and I'm fucking, all I'm doing is coughing up fucking chunks and blowing my nose, and now I have my buddy was like, hey man, this new strain has a sinus infection, and I'm like, well, that makes fucking sense, because again, I'm like a lava lamp. I mean, I am just green coming out of my fucking nose and my throat. And my throat is actually worse. Like, all right, I'm gonna tell you this. Well, fuck. I mean, you've had the disease. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. I mean, I'm coughing up stuff in the morning that's like a smoker, like big fucking. Have you ever boiled sausage, or boiled some kind of meat, and you get that like scum on the top of the fucking water? It's brown and it's like foam. It's not thick. I mean, it's thick, but it's not like you can run a spoon through it. You know what I mean? It's not dense. All right, it's a thick scum, and you got to scoop it off. Like you scoop it off the top or whatever when you're cooking. And let me tell you this: if that's never happened to you, I'm freaked out, because I'm like, what kind of sausage am I buying that I'm getting scum? And it doesn't happen. And I should tell you this: I've now started cooking my sausages in the oven rather than boiling them and then crisping them up in the pan. I find it easier to just throw them on a sheet pan and put them in the oven, which I like doing. You don't care. Nobody. Did you think to yourself, you know what? I hope Mike's doing okay. And also, I wonder how he cooks his sausages. Here you go. Look at this show taking care of all of that for you. So that scum that you get like on top of when you're boiling like a meat or whatever, and you have to spoon it off with your spoon, and you throw it down the sink. Well, but it's brown and foamy. All right. Well, imagine that coming out of my throat, but also like sticky, and it's like I'm coughing up epoxy. Like, I don't even know how to fucking explain it, dudes. And I mean, again, if you've had this, you know what you dealt with. And I'll do this thing where, all right, I have a sinus infection. Okay. So when I blow my nose, it hurts my head. And I don't know if that's just from repetitively blowing my nose all the time, but it's up deep in my brain. Like, it's not this thing where I'm like, ouch, or whatever, or you know how sometimes if you stifle a sneeze, you can hurt your head or whatever. No, man. I mean, because I'm letting go with both barrels when I blow my nose, and then I can feel it deep in like my cerebellum. It fucking hurts, and I know that's sinus bullshit because it's not really in your brain, but it's because whatever's going on in your nose goes up into your head and causes you to be lightheaded or whatever the fuck. Look, I know this is a lot of medical jargon that you're not going to understand. You know, when I'm coughing up dense scum and I'm blowing my nose and hurting my brain, you know all that. Get a medical journal, guys. Go to WebMD and Google all of this. Check it out. the point is I'm all fucked up, but I'm not. I don't. The fever's gone, which is good, because that was fucking bad. Like I said, you could wring out my fucking sheets. But I'm still achy a little bit, very, very little. But I'm from the last time I talked to you guys, I'm 1,000,000 times better physically. A million seems high. Basically, it's just annoying now. Now it's annoying because I have this heavy nose thing, and I'm oozing goo all over the fucking place, coughing fucking clams up everywhere, and then fucking lung batter or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and then the very fact that I'm positive is driving me out of my skull. When I went to the store, like I said, I had to buy. So I bought Berry Blast Theraflu. So we'll see how that tastes, because I'm going to go ahead and have that tomorrow. I'm all excited about that. Let me tell you this. You're truly sick when you're trying to get different flavors of Theraflu. Like when you're not just like, give me fucking medicine and let me get better. When you're like, I got to change this up. I mean, sure, this lemon honey thing is fine, and I can go ahead and get through it. But Berry Blast, why, that looks very interesting. And here's the thing. I almost tricked myself. There's a Theraflu daytime and a Theraflu nighttime, and they're like $10.99 a box. But then there's a box that has both of them in there, and it's only $16.99. I almost cost myself fucking $6. I was like, what the hell? But luckily, I was able to focus, because what the fuck else do I have to do? I sit there and price it, because I don't want. It's so funny. I get about pills. But I'm like, no, man, I need shit that eases my throat, because I want the warm liquid to fuck with my throat, even though I'm already tired of broth and fucking soup. God damn it, how bored are you of me talking about how sick I am? What a baby. I know you're like, because when I didn't get it, I didn't talk about it much, but now that I got it, it's because I'm obsessed. And also, because I'll tell you this, I went out, and I wanted a soda, and I didn't want to buy soda, because I didn't want to have soda in my house. Because now you're just asking for trouble to have soda here all the time. And also, man, I shouldn't be drinking battery acid in my fucking throat. But if I get a one-time soda, that's fine. So when I started doing, look, 7-Eleven, you go to 7-Eleven, they have big gulps. They have double big gulps. And the thing is, like, if you buy a double big gulp, every time you go back, you can get a refill for like $1. And a normal soda, a 20-ounce soda is like $2.50 or $2.70 even sometimes. You can get them 2 for $5. But a double big gulp, man, that's like 64 ounces of soda. It's almost like a 2-liter bottle of soda, and it's $1. But it also has the weirdest flavors. Like here's what I've become hooked on when what I found, my security blanket that I found. When I'm driving Uber, because again, Uber is so dangerous for me when I'm driving, because I'm bored. So as I'm bored, I'm trying to, I'll have a fucking candy bar or whatever the fuck. It's so bad. But I've been drinking Mountain Dew Major Melon, because look, if you're gonna drink fucking soda, just drink the worst fucking one you possibly can. Just drink something that a fucking hillbilly would turn his nose up at. You know what I mean? They should serve this Mountain Dew Major Melon in a jug with 3 X's on it, because holy shit, it's like the fucking booze of soda. But I don't care. I drink the shit out of it when I'm driving. It's not like I don't stock it in my house. Like I can't buy it from my house, because then at that point I'm just admitting defeat. At that point I'm just giving myself over to the fact that I'm going to be dead as soon as possible. And I talked to my buddy Dennis. I started to say this. And I was talking, and I go, dude, this is fucked. I go, I'm going to be dead in 15 years. I can't fucking deal with this. And he goes, hey, don't start that. And he got like mad at me. And I go, dude, I'm not saying that in some like sympathetic fucking playing a violin thing. I'm just trying to be realistic. You figure 70 is when you start going, you know what I mean? Even now, look, I'm not going to be Gene Hackman, all right, 94 years old, buying packs of cigarettes, for fuck's sake. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Good for him. All these people are making fun of Gene Hackman. I don't know if you saw that this week. They took pictures of him in the New York Post, and they're like, a 94-year-old Gene Hackman spotted out buying cigarettes and coffee or whatever the fuck it was. And they said, wearing the same outfit he wore a week ago. And it's like, all he wore was the same shoes and the same vest. Like, he changed his shirt. And even if he's wearing the same fucking clothes, the guy's 94 years old. What the fuck do you want him to do? He's supposed to look like the Monopoly guy when he goes out of his fucking house in a tuxedo? Leave the guy alone. And why are you taking pictures of him anyway? This guy retired from acting like 10 years ago. I think 12 maybe. Leave him be. fucking, and because the TMZ assholes are always, they're leaping out of fucking mailboxes and shit to take pictures of old people and go, oh, look how bad this guy looks. Well, fuck, I want to see your ass when you're 94 fucking years old. And I got news for you. Did you see The Conversation? That's from like 1972, and Gene Hackman didn't look fucking, there was no great shakes about him then. He had that fucking flyaway hair, and that he's an everyman. It's who he is. If anything, let's celebrate the fact that this dude is 94 and still fucking getting it done and going out and buying a pack of cigarettes. Good for him. Work a heater. 94, work a heater. But I figure, like I said, when 70 is when you start to go, yeah, especially, I recognize the fucking damage I've done. And plus, I'm telling you, I'm buying fucking drumsticks and Pop-Tarts and fucking, and not going to the gym because I'm sick. I'm practically inviting it to happen. I'm not, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy at this point. I don't want it to be. I would love to fight it off. But I mean, also at the same point, if I die at 70, what the fuck? Really? That's a good run. 70 is a good run, don't you think? I don't want, I'll ask me again when I'm 69, and I'll probably have a different answer. Hey, you want to die next year? Whoa, hold on a second, man. Let's think about this. Well, you said 70 was a good run. I certainly did, didn't I? Well, I'm sorry I committed that to tape or whatever the fuck this is, digital, whoever the fuck knows. But please don't throw it in my face again, because I'm going to go ahead and try to survive as long as I possibly can. It's not like I have some sort of absurd wish to go at 70. It's just I'm trying to be realistic. But it didn't matter, because then it's just like, what the fuck, man? Don't say shit like that. And I'm just like, look, you ride bikes up mountains and shit. You're all fucking healthy. You got insurance. I go, I'm a 56-year-old dude with no insurance who just bought 4 boxes of Pop-Tarts. If I don't prepare myself for it, who will? I'm not exactly Jim Fix. Although, bad example, he died when he was fucking 50 or whatever the fuck, running around. Who knows? Who did I just, there was somebody else. Oh, there was a sumo wrestler who just died. He was a sumo wrestler, became a professional wrestler. He was Aki Bono. He was the first foreign Yokozuna. His real name was Chad Rowan. He was from Hawaii, but then he went and became a Yokozuna in sumo. He was amazing. And he just died at 54. He died of heart failure. And he got sick. Actually, I think it was like 7 years ago or something like. So he's been in a wheelchair since then. And I mean, because that guy, what those sumo wrestlers do? It's fucking ridiculous. They eat a fucking metric ton of fish heads and broth and fucking all that shit to get fat. Then they wind up fighting. And look, sumo, people are like, oh, fat guys in diapers. Hey, man, those guys that run at one another, it's like a car accident every time they have a fucking match. And plus, if you watch sumo, they're fighting on like some cement fucking stoop, and they're basically naked. So when they fall down on that shit, it's just, oh my God. I felt that in my fucking colon. I mean, it's such a fucking drag to watch these dudes. It's amazing. It's amazing to watch sumo. I loved it when I went to see it in Japan. It was fucking fantastic. And so now I follow it. Us, we're a Wakatakakagi family. That's how we are. But he's been injured. He had knee injuries. And then, so I've been following his brother. His brother's a sumo, but they can't ever get over the hump. Like they always have, they'll do like tournaments and they'll finish like, 10-5 or 9-6. Like they can never really push themselves over. But Wakatakakage was moving way up. I mean, he was like 2 levels below Yokozuna, but then he blew out both fucking knees. And I mean, of course he did. Because again, like I just said, the guy, you got to eat a fucking, and you eat the sea. They're like, you wake up for breakfast and they just scoop out a ton of fish and they feed it to you and you eat it and you're just being as fat as you possibly can. Possibly. So when I read about Aki Bono, I was like, well, of course this fucking guy died. You know what I mean? He didn't exactly take care of himself. And then I pivot and I go, well, I better have a couple of Pop-Tarts and a drumstick. Terrible. And look, and I'm at my lowest point too. My immune system is ready to be fucking jabbed at. Clearly, like I said, I'm susceptible to anything right now. Something could sneak in here, some sort of fucking lupus or fucking Lou Gehrig. If I get Lou Gehrig's disease, what if that happens? I could fucking get that. And isn't that all shaky, right? Wasn't that what he do with Lou Gehrig's disease? I think you get all shaky, right? Or is that that's Parkinson's? Parkinson's, you get all shaky. But Lou Gehrig, I think you just freeze up like you can't move. Didn't I know somebody with MS too? But that was like a slow, like, because MS, I just thought, when I was a kid, you heard about multiple sclerosis, you're like, holy fuck, that's a drag. But that's one of those insidious ones where like you get it and you're kind of okay for 10 years, but you're steadily atrophying. And look, I'm sure it's different for everybody. Again, I'm not fucking wearing a stethoscope, but it's just one of those deals where you're like, holy shit, that's a terrible thing. But it's also it's slow, like it creeps upon you. And I don't know if I think Lou Gehrig's disease is the same way, right? I don't think you just get it and then you give the fucking echoing speech and then all of a sudden you're in an iron lung or whatever the fuck. Do they even do an iron lung anymore? Is there polio? Who's got polio? Who among you has polio? If anybody's going to get it, it's going to be me. Like I said, my fucking whole immune system is battling with the green goo. I got Slimer from the Ghostbusters in my goddamn throat, and then all of a sudden, fucking sure enough, here comes some ancient disease. I will say this: I was terrified. I came home, outside my door on the ground, because it was dark. It was nighttime, and I just saw like a bunch of pellets outside my door, and in my parking lot they have those rat traps, like those whatever the fuck. I don't even know if it's a rat trap. It's just a big black thing, but it's got holes in it, and whoever, you know what? It's basically a whoever trap. Whoever wanders in there, fuck you. You're done. I mean, it could be a squirrel trap, could be a chipmunk trap. I don't know what we got fucking rolling around outside, but I assume that it's for rats as well. I've never ever seen a rat here, thankfully. Knock on Formica, but who knows? You know what I mean? Still, when I came home, because again, seeing those traps out there, that's disquieting. You know what I mean? Because all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, is this like a salvo, like in case they show up? Have you heard rumors of rats? And so you went, well, let's get ahead of this and let's put some traps out. Or did someone go, hey, I saw some fucking rats, and then they put the trap? I don't know, man. I don't know how it works here. Again, like I said, I found out about the parking lot getting paved by a note on my mailbox the night before it happened. That was some consternation. There was some anger here over that. I didn't tell you guys. I was hiding, of course, in my house. I had all my doors and windows closed, and I know, open up the house and air it out because you don't want the germs in here. I get it, but I had just woke up, so I'm sitting I'm by the chair by my blinds, and I'm listening to the outdoors. That's what I like to do. I like to spy for a while. And people had parked in the lot, and they were then being told that they had to get out because they had blocked the parking lot off. I think I told you, they said you were done until the Sunday. We weren't supposed to park there until Sunday. And then they actually, I was like, well, how are they going to keep people out? Well, it's because they had like that fucking yellow police tape and cones, orange cones, and they fucking barricaded the whole parking lot. I'm like, all right, well, that makes sense. And I guess they removed it because, again, like I said, I'm not exactly fucking hanging around outside. And so people just parked in the lot. And then the manager had to go around and go to everybody and go, hey, you got to get your car out of there. And the funny part was every person she went to, it was like, why? Like nobody just went, oh, okay. I heard them because I heard her. She had to go to every apartment, and everyone would go, why? And she'd go, because you're not supposed to go back till Sunday. And they go, well, but the lot it's paved. And they're like, and it was the same conversation every time. And she said, yes, but you're not supposed to go back till Sunday. And they're like, well, why did you take the tape and the cones down? And why are we able to gain access with our cars if we aren't supposed to go in there? Because everyone's a child. You know what I mean? Everyone still has to have it explained to them in these, bullet points. It's like, just because the cones and the tape are gone doesn't mean you can go back in. I don't know if you saw that piece of notebook paper I taped above the the mailboxes, but that told you can't go in there till Sunday. Are you just ignoring that now? Fucking ridiculous. So everybody is just so, and everybody, there was swearing outside, and one of the guys who's lived here forever, longer than me even, he was like, hey, I talked to the owner this morning and she said we could park in there. And he's like, no, and my manager's like, no, you can't. I don't know why she told you that, but you can't. They told me specifically this morning that nobody's to park in there. And he's like, well, I spoke to her this morning and she said we could park in there. And the manager said, well, I'm telling you that she was here this morning. And he goes, I know, I talked to her. And she goes, well, so did I. And she told me nobody's supposed to be in there. So everybody has to get out. And then this guy's, motherfucker, I can't fucking believe you would do this, blah, blah. But when the guy I know, my friend, gave in my brain, I was like, oh, then you didn't talk to the owner? Like, because if he had really talked to the owner and she had told him that he could park in there, he would have fought that tooth and fucking nail to the death. You know what I mean? He would have been like, no, fuck that. Call her right now because she fucking told me I could park in there. You know what I mean? But after like the fourth time of saying, well, I talked to her this morning. I talked to her. And the manager going, no, 'cause she told me specifically. And then he was like, fine. And he moved his car. I'm like, well, dude, you went all in, like you bluffed at the pot, and then you doubled your bet and then you went all in and you got fucking defeated. You got cleaned out. Your pair of twos was exposed, friend. And luckily I was already still on the street, because again, there's nothing better that a sick person likes than parking out on the street in the rain and then having to move the car because there's street cleaning. So at one point I had to go outside and I had to wait outside in the rain. Oh, what a terrible life I lead. It's so fucking bitching. I had to go outside. Oh, Christ, guys. I had to stand out there for like 6 minutes, which is an eternity when you're just standing in one spot. And I had to go, where am I moving my car to? Who knows, man? But everything worked fine. And then guess what? We all got to go in on Saturday. That notebook paper that said Sunday, throw it away, friends. All of a sudden, I went outside, and on Saturday, people were parked in the garage, and I was like, in the lot, the carport, whatever the fuck. And I was like, good. So I walked down, and I was very worried, I will say, because again, parking on the street, I don't know what's going on here anymore. There are felons everywhere. There's all sorts of bullshit going on in California. This happened before I got sick. I was coming home from the gym, and I was looking for a semi-healthy lunch because I was starving. It is like 3 weeks ago. And I was coming home and I stopped. There's a place called Fish Dish, which, good for them. And, but the thing is they've got fried tacos, they got plates, they got catfish, they got the whole bit. And so occasionally, like, I like going there because, you can get I really like fish tacos. Like, I love them. And if it's a place that's calling itself Fish Dish, well, then they must concentrate on the fish, right? So it's going to be good stuff. They're never busy, though, which always freaks me out about a seafood joint. Like, I never want to go in and order fish tacos from a place at like 7 o'clock at night if they haven't served anybody all fucking day. But this was lunchtime, so I was still okay. And, but they have a Cajun salmon burrito. And it's fucking blackened salmon, and it's got like, rice and sauce and really crisp cold cabbage, which I like a lot. And so that's what I was going to stop and get that, right? So I stop in, and this is just, and I have no solutions, and I'm not like an old person complaining, but it's pretty fucking terrible outside here a lot of the times in some places. I've told you that I've been approached by homeless people who offer to have sex with me. I have been approached by people who want money and then they get pissed. I had a guy spit at my shoes. I had the single scariest thing I've ever had happen to me. I wasn't going to tell you about this, but I guess we're going into it. I guess we're gonna. So you know what I guess? I guess that makes this a 40-year-old boy. Because this did not happen last night at Schmitty's. I'll tell you this. So anyway, I'm at the Fish Dish, right? And I'm getting a burrito. And as I'm at the counter, a dude walks in, and he doesn't look disheveled homeless. Okay. A lot of times when a guy is really bad, they'll be scraggly and dirty. He's scraggly, but he's not dirty. He doesn't stink. He walks in but when he walks in, the counter guy goes, no, sir, no. So obviously he's had to deal with this guy before, and the dude walks, he doesn't even acknowledge that guy. And, it's not like there's any food out. But he walks toward the back of the restaurant where they have a condiment bar. They have salsas and, fucking tartar sauce, all that shit. And this dude, I should say this, it was like 70 degrees outside because it's been super cold here, but now it's starting to turn. Like this week we've had 80 degrees. Of course, and I'm trapped in my fucking house. I can't go outside in the 80-degree weather. It pisses me off. But it was 70. It was like 3 weeks ago. And it was the first warm day in like 2 weeks. And this dude walks in. He goes, I'm dying. And he walks, and the guy goes, sir, you can't. And he goes to the back where the fucking condiment bar is. And I will tell you this, it used to be stocked. Like you used to be able to go into a lot of places like El Pollo Loco and all that. And they used to have bowls of salsa with like a ladle, and you could get as many as you wanted. They had the little plastic containers. You could build your own. But the pandemic, it kicked all that shit right in the ass. I mean, you have no access anymore to getting your own salsas. You have to ask. It's all boxed in the back, all that shit. But they still, over there, they had tartar sauce in little plastic containers. And then they still had, it's funny, they still have the weak setup. Like when it was filled with salsas and bountiful sauces and things, it looked nice. But now it's just got that fake fucking plastic lettuce, you know what I mean, all over the thing, and it has some ice on it because that's where they put the tartar sauce container, and then the soda machine is back there, and this dude. So this homeless guy just walks in and he goes toward the back and he goes, "Sir, no, you can't have a soda, no." And I guess the guy's been coming in and getting a soda, and he walks to the back and he doesn't go to the soda machine, but instead, and I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't seen it. He just goes, "I'm dying. I'm literally dying. I'm dying of thirst. I'm dying." And the guy goes, "I'm sorry, I can't help you." And he just walked right past him and goes to the back of the restaurant and he grabs the fucking tartar sauce container and he just starts chugging it. The water, the ice water that the tartar sauce is sitting in the fucking metal bin. And I'm like, when I saw him do it, and look, you know how I am. I want to help guys. I want to do what I can. I don't have any cash. I never carry any fucking cash. But I'll say, "Hey man, do you want a soda or you want a burrito? Whatever the fuck. I'll try to help." But he was a dick when he walked in. He's like, "No, I'm good. I'm fine. I can do what I want." And he goes to the back. And the guy's like, "Sir, you can't have a soda." He goes, "I'm dying. I'm literally dying of thirst. You won't give a man a drink of water." And the counter guy went to go meet him, and I saw him do it. He picks up the tartar sauce and he just starts chugging the water out of the fucking metal thing, and he's putting the ice on his face, and the fucking guy just goes, "Sir, you have to leave. You can't do this." And I felt terrible, and I was just gonna buy him a soda, you know what I mean? But the counter guy walked away from me. I was gonna wait for him to come to the counter and go, "Look, I'll get this guy a fucking soda. Like, it doesn't matter." But then they come walking in, and then the guy stops in the middle of the restaurant and he starts yelling, and he's doing this thing. Which you've probably experienced. He's starting to act crazy. And I don't think he's crazy. I think he's just trying to scare everybody, or, because he needs to get out of there, that kind of thing. Because he just did a crazy thing by chugging water out of a tartar sauce container. And so he just starts like standing in the middle of the restaurant and he's going, everybody fucking yells at me. And he's just yelling nonsense. You know what I mean? And like I said, he's not dirty, smelly. He's just scraggly looking. He's wearing like an fucking beat up army jacket and stuff. And he's yelling about how he's tired and he's so hungry and he's so thirsty. And like I said, I was going to buy him something, but he never came over to the counter like a human being and went, "Hey man, is there any way?" Or just went, "Man, I'm really hungry." If he would have done any of that. But he just stopped and he started screaming. And at that point, I'm not going to go, "Sir," because the counter guy, at that point, he doesn't know what to do. You know what I mean? He wants to tackle him, but he also wants him out of the restaurant as soon as possible because there's 2 other tables of people eating and they're just freaking the fuck out looking at the guy and they don't know what to do. And he's yelling at the people sitting there eating and he's just fucking screaming. And then part of me, and again, it's the old days, I maybe go up to him and go, "Hey man, you got to get the fuck out of here." You know what I mean? Or "Hey man, calm down, I'll get you a sandwich," whatever the fuck. But he just fucking starts yelling. So I just stood there at the counter and I tried to get the attention of the guy who was the cashier because I was going to say, "Hey, look, I'll just buy him a sandwich or something." But I could also see that the counter person he had no time for anything except getting this guy out of the fucking door. So if I offered to buy a fucking sandwich, that just means the guy's going to be there for another fucking 5 or 10 minutes or a burrito, a taco, whatever. And so I didn't say anything. And so this guy yelled and yelled probably for 30 seconds. And then he put his head down and he's like, "I can't believe I'm legitimately dying. It's fucking so hot outside. And you fucking did it." And then he walks out the door. And it calms down and I look at the counter guy and I go, "Hey," man, I would have bought him like a taco or something. He goes, "No," he goes, "he's here every day." He goes, "We don't know what to do." And he goes, that's why I knew when he was walking in, he usually, I guess he usually drinks the soda right out of the soda fountain, just puts his head under it and fuck, because the cups are back behind the counter. He goes, we will give him a cup sometimes for soda or water. He goes, but he comes in and he yells, and we don't want him here anymore because we can't help. And as we're talking, this fucking dude walks back into the place, and the setup in the front, I should tell you, like in the back was the soda machine, but in the front, the guy has a register, and then he has like a display case with Snapples and Cokes and ice in it. And this guy walks back in, and he just comes right up to the counter, and he just grabs 2 fucking sodas out of the ice, and he literally says yoink, which I thought was fucking hysterical. And he goes, my own microphone. He just goes yoink, and he pulls them out, and he goes, yeah, motherfucker, I fucking used to, and he just walks out laughing. And I mean, it was brazen. Like, I mean, he just walks in and steals 2 fucking sodas and leaves. And literally said yoink, which I was like, all right, well, good for you. I mean, at least you had the sense of humor to go yoink. You know what I mean? Which was fucking crazy to me. And I have to admit, you see shit all the time in the city or wherever the fuck. You see crazy stuff. And I told you, look, man, I've seen a guy in 7-Eleven with shit hanging out of his ass. I had a girl doing the same thing when I was Ubering once. I mean, I've seen stuff nobody should ever fucking see. And I have to admit, this fucking shocked me. Because to see him chug the water out of the tartar sauce thing was fucking crazy. But then he actually left, and then we're having a discussion. I'm like, and he's like, he's here every day. We don't know how to and the guy bursts right back in. And he's like, motherfucker. And then he just yoink. And he goes, yeah, motherfucker, that's right. And he just leaves. And the counter guy, I don't know if I've ever seen a guy look so defeated. He just kind of looked, his shoulders just fucking slumped. And he just exhales. And I said, hey, man, you know what? I'll pay for those sodas. That's just ridiculous. And he goes, no. He goes, I have to find a way to make it stop. And I said, well, seriously, I don't mind. He goes, no, it's not your fault. He goes, he's here all, I don't want to do his accent, but he goes, he's here all the time. He's here all the time, and we don't know. Because the fish dish is also right by the train station, and there are a ton of homeless people who they're underground in the train stations, and they sleep on the benches, or they sleep whatever the fuck, or they ride the train even. I think I told you a couple years ago, I took a train with Gil Martin to a hockey game, and it was one of those eyes forward situations, because there were just dudes picking their ass, or guys like, with their pants down around their fucking thighs, just laying on the ground, sleeping against the wall. And you're just like, what the fuck? And again, man, I'm not, I'm not pointing a finger at the homeless community. I'm not like, whatever, we got to do something about these people. Hey man, we got to do something about a lot of fucking people. We got to do shit about everybody and every fucking thing. There's a million fucking things out there that need to be fixed or changed, and I've talked before. I had a discussion with someone, and she's like, we got to put them in pods with a sink, and I'm like, I think you just invented jail. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's just getting worse. Like, there's more and more people on the street there, and here in the valley, and out front of out front of my house, there was a guy just sleeping on a tent on the strip that's owned by the city of grass, not the building, and he just fucking built a tent. And then I found him sleeping by the pool one night, and I found a woman in here, and you're just like, Jesus, I don't know. It's an unsolvable problem. I don't care, because there are a lot of people here especially in Los Angeles, who are, what we need to do is you need to slash the police budget, and you have to put that money toward helping people, and you got to build more mental health. And I'm like, that will never happen. That shit's never going to happen. You can say this is what we need to do, and I agree. I mean, I would love to kumbaya the shit out of this and say he's got the whole world in his hands, and give everybody a bed and a room, but the thing is, you get people who are chugging water out of a tartar sauce container. You know what I mean? There are people out there there's plenty of people who rent got away from them. They lost their job. They're living in a car. There was a whole parking. I think I've told you this. There was a whole parking lot here, about 4.5 miles from my house, 5 miles down Laurel Canyon. And it was just an empty lot. This big empty lot. Well, people started to park there and sleep in their cars. because they lost their houses or whatever. And then then it was like one car, and then it was like 4 cars, and then it was 25 cars, and it just became a site where a camp essentially. And then so 2 miles from that, they built these tiny houses where all these people go, but then you read about, they give people these tiny houses, and for every family, you know what I mean, husband and wife with a baby or 2 kids or whatever who are grateful to get this tiny house, they put a fucking guy who's a meth head in that house, and he kicks the mirrors and he breaks the fucking sink, and then he terrorizes everybody there, and the cops have to come and drag him the fuck out, and now that's one less tiny house. And that's the reason why people in the neighborhood are like, well, I can't have these people here because you never know what the fuck's going to happen. Yeah, because I'm getting offers for blowjobs in the 7-Eleven parking lot for men and women. I'm getting fucking guys stealing soda and running away and laughing and chugging water out of a tartar sauce container, and you're like, and I don't know what to do. I don't have an answer. That's the thing, is it's like, because that's what makes me laugh. When people bring it up and then they start to give you the answer, they've got the schematic, they're like, because there are the people who are like, we've got to do what we can to get these people out of here. And they bulldoze their encampments and they throw away all their shit, and they won't let them fucking sleep on the grass or the fucking benches. And oh, we got to get them out of the doorways. We got to fucking get them. Their whole solution is to move them. But they don't say to where. Just get them out of here. That's it. Just, because again, all you're doing is kicking the can down the road, and that's a can that they could pick up and get a dime for, but you're instead fucking kicking it down the street. You know what I mean? And then you go the other route with the people who are like, what we need to do, man, is we need to build like these apartment complexes where these guys can live. And also, there's so much empty housing here. The rents have gone crazy, and there's hotel rooms that are like, you don't need to have them, and and I'm like, well, again, that's a wonderful dream in the land of everything's Coolistan, but I mean, you're not going to fucking make it happen, because there are enough people who are also like, hey, fuck these people. You know what I mean? And that's why it's an unsolvable problem, because you know what you need? You need a fuck ton of money, like a nuclear bomb filled with money to drop on the problem. But also, you have to win the hearts and minds of the people who think homeless people are lazy, or who've been traumatized by homeless people sleeping in their yard or breaking into their home or doing terrible things. Or my niece, unfortunately, was walking on Ventura Boulevard, and started, and this is my 22-year-old niece, and she's getting followed by there's a guy who he was just yelling. You know what I mean? And she saw him one day and he was fucking yelling as she walked. And I believe it was the next day or 2 days later, she's on Ventura, she's walking, and he's approaching her, and she sees him, and she's not going to look at him, but she's, you got to be frosty. You have to know what's going on. And as he gets closer, he's like, nah, he's, yelling and screaming and fucking swearing or whatever. And she passes him, and she keeps walking, and like fucking 45 seconds later, he just fucking runs and barrels into her, knocks her over. He just comes up right behind her and pushes her down. He doesn't jump on her and do more things. And again, it was in the daytime. That's another thing. It's in the fucking daytime. Like, you can give me some bullshit where you're like, well, you can't walk around at 9 o'clock at night. Hey, this is fucking like 2 p.m. And some people saw it, and then they yelled, of course, and they run over to help her. And he just he never stayed. Like, he didn't try to do anything more. He ran up and he grabbed her and he pushed her down on the ground. And he just yelled. He just stood there and yelled. And even when people came to help her, he didn't run, because some of these guys are fucking bananas. And he just stood there and he kept yelling. And then people finally told him, get the fuck out of there. And he did, you know what I mean? And she's crying, and she was more scared than hurt. I think a good thing was she had seen this person a couple days before. And then also that day he had walked toward her and passed her. So she knew he was in the area. So I'm sure you still get a little frosty, and she was probably ready just in case some shit happened. And sure enough, some shit happened, and she got knocked over. And, Lenny was out of town, and she had to call him and whatever the fuck and get it straightened out. And I mean, what do? You put a bullet in that guy's head? You know what I mean? Do you just, because he's clearly mentally fucking ruined, and you can't give him a hotel room. You know what I mean? You can't be like, hey, we got to give this guy an apartment or a house or whatever the fuck, because he's gone. That guy's gone. And a lot of these dudes are fucking gone. Now, look, there are people out there who are, there's communities. There's fucking, like I said, you go downtown and it's fucking crazy. I mean, you'll see people, this is completely true. On the fucking freeway, if you go downtown, all right, an interchange that's really rough, and there's like 8th and 9th Street and 4th Street and, you know, all this stuff. And the interchange that goes from the 110, I believe it's the 110 East, if you're going like toward Pasadena or whatever, I believe. There's a guy who lives on this fucking freeway entrance. He will scare the shit out of you because you'll be fucking driving and it's a curve. So you don't see him or you don't see anything. You're just curving and getting on the freeway. I only know he's there because I've run into him so many times from taking that entrance from driving Uber. But if you're not driving on there all the time and you come around the corner and you see him, because this is one thing he does. He sleeps on the shoulder part of it. So he's recessed away from the cars. You know, when you drive, if he's as far away from you as, you know, he's only like 5 feet away from you, 6 feet away, I would say. You know, and he's sleeping on the fucking ground, if you're lucky. Because sometimes you come around and he's just up yelling. He's just fucking screaming at the cars as they go by, and he's waving a stick or waving whatever the fuck he's got in his hand, and he's just fucking jawing at you. And in your brain, you're like, because it happens so quick. You come around the corner and he's just there screaming. You're like, what the fuck? But you've got to keep going, clearly. And all in your brain, you're just hoping, I hope this fucking guy doesn't jump in front of my car, because that would be fucking bananas. I don't know what the fuck to do then. Because you're like, I'm going to kill this guy. I don't want to. How nuts is he? But he's got to be super nuts if he's chosen this fucking cubbyhole to sleep in. It's crazy. I was on the freeway once. This happened. On the freeway, the 101 going toward the 110. And you get down by Alvarado and stuff, and you get close to, you know, the shoulder ends, and then there's like just a guardrail, and there's foliage, like, you know, just fucking trees or whatever. And one time I'm driving, and you know, we're not going to Freeway Club because there's always traffic. I think I was going like 30 miles an hour, and it's dark. You know, there's not lights everywhere. And as I'm driving, I just see movement, and I see a dude come over the fucking guardrail, just scuttle. It wasn't even like, you know, like a superhero landing, like the Avengers or anything. He just scuttled out like a fucking bug, like a on all fours. Like he scrambled over the guardrail, and then he was like kind of doing a Green Beret belly crawl on the fucking shoulder of the highway, and in the darkest clothes you've ever seen. Like, just, you know, I only saw it because there was movement, and I saw him come over and I was like, what the fuck? And then I saw him just kind of scramble on the ground, and I don't think he was crawling on purpose. I think he was trying to gain his footing or whatever the fuck, and I just drove by him. But it was weird enough that he came over the guardrail, because I just figured, it's like, did he scale the wall? Had he been hanging? What the fuck was he doing? I don't know, man. You know what we need to do? We need to whip these guys into a fucking team. They've all got some kind of weird power, like where they can sleep on these 5 foot away from roaring traffic. You know what I mean? They can't ever be shaken or rattled. Guys are scuttling over guardrails. I mean, we got to whip these guys into an exclusive fucking team to take on fucking anybody who gets in our way. We need like a weird homeless fucking army. Jesus Christ. They can live on fucking tartar sauce water and stolen sodas. Jesus, my God. And it's, like I said, I don't have any solution. Like I have empathy, and I know what I would like to see. I would like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company, but I can't fucking do that because I don't know. You don't know who is fucking dangerous, man. You know what I mean? Because as I've said to you, I try to help as many people as I can. You know, I will see people, and if I, you know, during the pandemic, I'd be like, hey, come in, I'll buy you groceries, I'll buy you fucking this, and I can't right now because I haven't driven in fucking, like I'm so lucky I drove as hardcore as I did before I got sick, because I was able to kind of, I paid like a bunch, you know, like my monthly bills, but now, you know, so I had a week to play with probably, you know, where I could do nothing and it wouldn't ruin me, but now I got to get back in the car. I got to go. Oh, you know what? I never even finished telling you this. When I went to get a soda, you know, I go to 7-Eleven, and you're going to laugh because I'm a fucking weirdo. I told you it's $1 to refill your soda, right? Well, sometimes they try to charge you more. They try to charge you $1.40 because they'll have this thing now. Because like the first, you know, few times I did it at different 7-Elevens, it was always $1. because when they ring it up, it says small refill 99 cents, which is, so I'm like, okay, cool. But then I've gone in a couple times and they'll be like, it's $1.45. And I'm like, why? It's $1 everywhere else. They'll be like, no, it's $1.45. And that's when it becomes a problem. And again, because this is going to sound terrible. These guys aren't exactly speaking the king's English, so to speak, like the best English that you could imagine. And so they do this thing when you have a question that's like, I'm sure they speak perfect English. They understand English. But when you have a question and they don't want to deal with it, they just act like you're crazy. You know what I mean? Like they don't get it. They don't know what you're saying. So, the first time I did it, it was like $1.45. And I said, I was in here yesterday. It was $1. And he goes, $1.45. And I go, I know, but I was in here yesterday. It's $1. What changed? It's $1.45. I go, yeah, I hear what you're saying. And you're trying to charge me $1.45. But I was in here last night, same store, different guy, and it was $1. Why? Because all I want is an answer at that point. If you even say to me, guy last night made a mistake, it's 45 cents. Fine. But I can see that he's rung up a large refill. And you and I both know soda costs them a fucking nickel. Like, it's even the $1 for a refill is all profit, all of it. Like, because it costs them 3 cents of syrup to make a fucking soda. And when they make it $1.45, so I like I said, so I asked him, and now there's a line behind me because I'm like, wait a minute, why? Why is it $1.45? Why? Tell me. Because last night it was $1. It's $1.45, $1.45, like that. And like I said, there were people behind me, and because there were people behind me, I didn't want to look like a fucking stroke. So I was like, fuck this, and I just paid it, and I walked out. And also because I wanted to start driving, because if I tell them no or whatever the fuck, what am I going to do? I have to go to another fucking thing. I just wanted to turn my car on and drive that night. So I bailed, and I did it. But now, that was the only time. Because now, whenever I go, like I said, 80% of the time it's $1. But whenever I go to these places and they try to charge me the $1.45, I'll just go, well, it's $1. I go, every time I come in, it's $1. And they go, it's $1.45. And I'll hand them $1. And I go, there you go. And I'll leave. Because, I don't fucking care. I know it's $1. Everyone knows it's $1. It's been $1 here before, and this is at different 7-Elevens all across the fucking city because I'm driving. I'm in fucking Hawthorne. I'm all over the fucking place, right? So I'll just have my $1 in my hand, and when they try to do the $1.45, I go, it's $1, and they'll go, no, it's $1.45, and I go, here's $1. And I'll hand it to them, and this has happened a few times. I'll say it's $1, and they'll go, no. And I go, well, here's $1. I know it is. Every time I come here, it's $1. And they go, it's $1.45. And I go, all right, well, I'll just go pour it back. And then they think I'm crazy because they'll be like, what? And I go, yeah, I'll just dump it out. I don't need it. It's fine. And there's only 2 places that have let me follow through on dumping it out. But I have. I'll go right over to the machine and just fucking dump it all out. I don't give a fuck. And because, again, they also don't give a fuck because it cost them 3 cents. What the fuck do they care? But for me, goddammit, it's the principle of the thing. So, last week, like I said, I wanted a soda. And I went to the 7-Eleven by my house because I didn't want to drive any farther away. And there's one guy there he's the $1.45 guy. Everybody else, it's $1. And when I walked in, I saw him and I knew. I was like, son of a bitch. And, but here, I will tell you this. I was masked up because of my current predicament, and I went and I filled the soda, and in my brain, because also I will tell you this: there's 2 guys working the register, so if I don't get $1.45 guy, then I'm good because the other guy knows is going to charge me $1. So I waited in line, and I got to the front, and sure enough, I got $1.45 guy, and he's like, $1.45. And I said, yeah, it's not, it's $1. And he goes, $1.45. And I know but it crossed my mind, and I know it's crazy, but it was the thought I had. I I wanted to take my mask off and just start coughing. And I know that's fucking ridiculous, and I know it's but in my brain I was kind of like, you know what, fuck this, man. You know, I'm gonna give this guy my throat aids because of 45 cents. That's where I've landed now as a guy. Because truthfully, again, if I don't even want to be out of the house. All right, I don't feel good. I got goo all over myself in my inside internally, not on me, whatever the fuck. But also, I had to admit, part of me was like, hey man, I'm a fucking weapon. Like, I should fucking take advantage of this shit. Like, I should even tell him, hey man, I got COVID. I'll take my mask off and cough in your fucking face if you don't give me this. And I felt like so terrible. It seemed like such a fucking, like those shitheads who protested medicine and picketed outside the grocery store. But I had to admit, knowing that I was racked with disease and this guy was trying to rip me off, I wanted to be like, you know what, man, I'm kind of a god right now, and I could do terrible fucking things to you and everybody in this goddamn store. It was like, because I was so fucking pissed. I didn't want to be out of my house. I didn't want to be anywhere. And you're going to dick me around for 45 cents, and I've had to have this fucking limbo with you before. But instead, because I'm a grown man and a perfect person, I just went, look, it's $1. And he goes, $1.45. And the other guy goes, next customer. And I just walked over to his register and I go, here you go. And he rang me up and it was a fucking $1. And I handed it to him and I walked the fuck out. Right next to the other guy. You know what I mean? Like, and that made me laugh too. Because then I'm like, are they having some summit meeting every week where they're just like, hey man, why are you the $1.45 guy? Hey, you know what? They're going to pay it. God damn it. And also I know that there are people who are just like, you know what, man, it's just 45 cents. Yes, I get that. But again, it's the principle of the thing, because they when you charge me $1, the first like 5 times or 10 times, and then you bump it up to $1.45, because as we all know, everything is going through the roof, and that might be a good point for me to bring this up now. I have a P.O. box, and people are very nice, and they send me things occasionally, especially at Christmas time when I do like a Christmas stream. I didn't do one this past year, but when I do a Christmas stream, or when people want to reach out, they've sent me things through the P.O. box. I'm ditching the P.O. box. And it's because it has quadrupled in price in the past 2 years. It's a crazy thing. Like right now they want like $175 for 6 months. And I mean, it used to be like $65 for 6 months. Like it was, or $70 or something like that. And it's more than doubled in price. I think I said just quadrupled, and that's wrong. But it was like $50 when I first got it 20 years ago. But now it's at like they want $177 for 6 months. And I can't. I mean, I'm just not doing it. Because I will tell you this, it's gone up consistently over the last 2 years. Like it went up to, when it got to 100, I was like, that's weird. And then it went to 120 on the very next 6 month period. And then it went to 140 on the next 6 month period. So they're raising it all the time. And the reason I'm remembering this or thinking about this is because I got an email for a renewal, but also at the same time, I saw a story that the post office is now raising the price of stamps like another 18% or something, and this is the third hike in 11 months. I don't even know what the fuck. Who knows? All I know is, you know how it is when you're out there and everything's going fucking bananas. I gotta stop saying bananas. So you're all very kind, and you've sent things to my P.O. box. You don't, because the P.O. box ends at the end of April. And if you want to send me anything, you're all very kind. Just reach out, and I'll give you my address, because who the fuck cares? And like I said, what are you going to do? Come here and get sick? And I got 15 years left. Is someone going to break in and kill me? Good for you. I mean, at this point, if you want to, I just mentioned I got homeless people sleeping outside on my pool. It's not like you guys are going to drop by it. It's going to be a drag. You know what I mean? At this point, I'd welcome anybody coming to fucking see me. So yeah, if anybody out there wants to send me something, and some of you have already done this, because it had to be something that was time sensitive or whatever, just let me know, and I'll just give you the address, and you can send me whatever to my house. But the P.O. box is getting cashiered because everything is insane. I don't even know. I went to the store. When I bought the Theraflu, I think I told you it was $16.99. Well, when they rang it up, It said $17.99. I said, no, it's $16.99. And they're like, no, and I go, look, it's on the shelf, man. There's a sticker. It says $16.99. And she goes, well, let's go check. And dude, that always drives me crazy because it's like, look, man, I've been coming to this store for 20 years. Do you really think I'm going to try to cheat you out of a buck? I mean, I don't know. And I think I've even had a situation like this where I've told you before, there was a manager who got all weird about something that I had. And I was like, just put it back. It was chips. It was fucking like Taco Doritos once. And the guy's just like, well, I need to go check, but you need to hold on a second. And I'm like, what the fuck you mean to go check? There's a fucking sticker there. Why would I lie about a sticker over Doritos? And same thing with this thing where I'm like, why the fuck would I lie about the Theraflu to save $1? And sure enough, so then we went over to the show, and I wasn't mad. I mean, I understand she has a job, and that's fine. But we got in, and I went in, and sure enough, it was $16.99. She saw it. She's like, and she immediately tears that off the shelf, that tag. And I go, and she goes, all right, I'll change it for you. And I said, okay. So I go, so why'd you tear the tag off? She goes, well, if it's ringing up as $17.99, that's how much it is. I said, okay, well, when did that change? Because if there's a tag, it says $16.99. She goes, well, I don't know. Things change every day, like all the time now. So, it's probably just they forgot to take the tag off. And I'm like, yeah, things do change every day, don't they? Like prices are going up all the time. Like I said, potato chips have gone from, they were $2.99 and then went to $3.99 and now they're $4.49 and you're just like, what the fuck, dude? I don't even. And I hate to sound like some weird grandpa on a porch who's like, in my day we never, but you guys are experiencing the same fucking stuff. And it's I talked about the $9 Whopper or whatever the fuck that I saw at the fucking at Burger King. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I don't know. So. But I will tell, as she was changing my price, I said to her, I go, I used to work at a grocery store, and I worked at a grocery store when scanners started. And she's like, oh, really? And I said, yeah. I go, and if you ever scanned anything and it came up different from the shelf, it was free. And she's like, that's a lie. And I go, no, I'm dead serious. In the early days when it was because people didn't trust the scanners, I said, so if you ever scanned something and it came up different from the shelf price and you showed it, you got it free. And she's like, wow, they would never do that now. And I'm like, yeah, there's no doubt. Clearly, there was no doubt they were going to do that. They would never do that now. But she was so shocked. She's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, it's crazy, but that's true. Again, because I'm the oldest man in the world, Sorry for sniffling. And it's another thing I've spared you, is, I've been blowing my nose like every fucking 15 minutes at my house. So I in my brain, I'm like, well, I could record. And if I record though, and I wonder if I blew my nose on the air, they're going to kill me, but then I could stop and, whatever. I'm a weirdo. So the point is, I'm finally in a position now where I think you can hear my throat it's as I'm speaking, I think it's sounding worse, but again, what do I know, man? My fucking ears are full of goo too at this fucking point. All right. I'm going to tell you this. And let me preface this by saying, I said to you, this is the scariest thing that's happened to me. And I will tell you this, you won't think it's scary. All right. In the telling, you will not think it's scary. However, if you experienced it, you would never forget it. Because I can tell you right now, I'm right there. Whenever I think about it or I tell the story, it's happening to me all over again. And it is a crazy thing. And I know you're like, well, this is going to be insane. I'm building it way up way too much, because you're not going to feel the same way I do, because I lived it and you didn't. And, I've already had some pretty terrible fucking things happen. I mean, I had a guy throw up on me. You know what I mean? I had a flat tire in fucking Compton at 2:30 in the morning, and guys start circling my car, and a dude came over and saved me and helped me change my tire. I mean, I've had I've had some stuff happen where, and I told you the last time I talked to you, I came upon a fucking street fight, and I was like, should I get involved in this? And the woman's like, no. And I'm like, all right. So again, this will not. You might even go, oh, well, you've been through so many worse things. You're probably right. But for my money, when this happened to me, it was. I will never forget it. Okay, so here we go. I'll just tell you this. But please know I've built it way up, and you will not feel the way I did. But if you went through it, you would probably feel the way I did. I was out driving, and there are segments of the city that are really, really packed with homeless people, like super dense, like there's places on Sunset Boulevard, places on Hollywood Boulevard. You'll be driving. On Hollywood Boulevard, there is a guy by Hollywood and Vine. He's got a tent that's almost, it covers almost a quarter block. Like it's huge. He might as well have a structure in there. He might even. I don't know. It's just gigantic. And there are guys with like, they'll have like little space heaters and they look like mini generators. There are guys you will see, they'll have lights on inside their tents. Like, I don't know how it fucking works. I don't know what happens. And as I've said, the city kind of, they don't really get involved with these guys because I see them all the time. Like 3 months, you can go out, and then 3 months later you can go to a same area and you'll see the same tents. I mean, they're there. So, and it's always shocking to me. Because sometimes when you see a tent, like I'm so used to seeing tents. All right, that's fine. When I see communities, that's fucking weird. That's always like I said, down by the Mission in downtown Los Angeles, where they have the end of the street blocked off. Like they won't let you turn down the street because they live on the street. That's their street. And I told you they had bikes that were just driving in a figure eight. Like 2 or 3 bicycles driving in a figure eight, guarding, like they won't let you turn down Mission Boulevard. And believe me, it's not like I'm like, I got to get down Mission Boulevard. I'm happy to drive. I'll take the whatever route around there. Sometimes the map though takes you to where you'll be by Mission Boulevard, and you're like, God damn it, you know what I mean? And you know what you're going to get. And during the day, it's different, but at night. Downtown LA, like I will wind up in a lot of places. They have these warehouses with raves, and it'll be, and it's all night. I mean, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 a.m. It doesn't matter. I'll get pinged to pick people up there, and I'll be dropping people off there. They'll have these, and I truthfully, I don't know if they are 24-hour parties. If they're going the whole time, they're just warehouses, and there'll be lines outside and people with flyers, and you drop them off, and it's like a 5-block radius. You know what I mean? There'll be, but the thing is, not only are there people down there going to the rave in the warehouse, but there are homeless people just everywhere. Like, whether they have carts or whether they have, I've seen homeless people just sleeping on the street with a sleeping bag. I've seen homeless people with suitcases, like the suitcases you pull behind yourself with the wheels, and homeless people like to accumulate, I think is what I would say. And so they'll have 3 suitcases and they'll be pulling them, or there'll be like 5 or 6 guys. And sometimes down in these areas, there are parking spots, and you'll see homeless guys like sitting on the cars. And I know for a fact, guys will pay the homeless guys to watch their cars. And so that's how they make money. It's almost, and I'm sure, I don't think like I don't think it was the idea of the person who drove the car. Let's put it that way. I think it's so worth it to them to get a good parking spot. They're willing to pay protection for it. You know what I mean? Like a homeless guy will walk up and go, "Hey, I'll watch your car for you for $10," and they'll be like, "Okay." And whether they do a good job, I have no idea. I cannot get any access to the homeless job reviews. I'd love to, just to delve into exactly what they have in their talent repertoire. And again, I have empathy for people who find themselves homeless, and if this is their plight. I can't imagine anything much worse. I've been homeless. When I was a kid, we slept in a car. After my mom left my dad, it was my mom and 5 kids, and we slept in a car for a week on the streets of Chicago. And then we would get hotel rooms because when my mom could borrow money, and we slept in people's basements, like friends of my mom. Again, if it was just my mom, she could have fucking couch surfed, I'm sure, but she had 5 fucking mouths to feed, and and she wasn't gonna. There was an offer. People would say to her, "Why don't you give them up? You should give them away. You should do that." And she'd be like, "Get fucked. These are my kids." And that's one of the reasons I respected my mom so much. She really could have told us to get fucked. She left my dad, and it would have been a hell of a lot easier for her to find her way without 5 suitcases to drag around, suitcases she had to feed every day. So when I see people that are homeless, it's a terrible thing. And I've talked before also, I have a special, I guess, empathy for homeless women, because look, man, women having to deal with whatever the fuck they have to deal with in the world anyway. Glass ceilings and corporate assholes and fucking horrible, rapists, and just being treated as second-class citizens and now having all their rights taken away. I've said many times, I don't even I can't imagine how incredibly difficult it is to be a woman. And you add in the homeless part of it, and then, with the needs women have medically and the needs women have hygienically, it's a fucking terrible thing. So, so please know that I when I'm, I'm telling you stuff and we're having fun. But at the same time, I spend half the night being tremendously sad seeing these people, because like I said, this will never be fixed. There is no way to fix the homeless problem in the United States other than a bomb, because we're never going to get the money. You're never going to be able to build enough shelters. And the way the world is going, with the prices going up and the wages staying stagnant or even going down, you're just pushing. There is no middle class. We've talked about this. The middle class has been shrunken to microscopic levels, and you've got, there's rich people and there's poor people. And I'm not going to sit here and be proselytized and, because how I feel about it. I think the whole world's living check to check. I think fucking everybody, because they used to say shit about people. Oh man, these guys live check to check. Hey man, every business is fucking check to check. I think the whole fucking world is check to check, except for like maybe 15 dudes. They can do whatever the fuck they want. But, you do the wrong thing, you spend the wrong money, you make the wrong, even if you're rich, you make the wrong investment, you buy the wrong fucking thing. Johnny Depp is one of those guys who can fly wine from France to California and pay for the privilege. You know what I mean? And you're just like, Jesus Christ, that's crazy. Especially when I go out in the street and I see all these fucking people who are chugging water out of a tartar sauce container. And whether he needed to or not, just doing that alone is indicative of a fucking situation that needs to be fixed and yet will never, ever be fixed. Like I said, you've got the people who are like, we should just herd them all into camps and throw them in jail and whatever the fuck. And then you got the people who are like, we should build fucking giant, amazing camps and hotels. And none of that shit's going to happen. None of it. Because you'd have to put it to a fucking vote, and the votes would cancel each other out. Let's put it this way. If the people at Fish Dish who were eating lunch felt that homeless people should be helped, I wonder if their mind was changed when a psychopath came in and started screaming motherfucker at them while they ate a burrito and then tried to chug water out of a fucking tartar sauce container and then stole 2 sodas and called us all motherfuckers and laughed at us on the way out the door. That's enough to make you go, you know what? Fuck these guys. I I get it. I can't tell you that I'm this fucking, boo-hoo. I wish I could be that guy, you know what I mean, who wants to just put the flour in a barrel of a gun and whatever the fuck. But also, I've lived long enough to see the world and know what it's about, and I can't, I know that people like that will turn people against homeless people quickly. And it's a terrible thing. And just the fact that, again, my niece getting pushed down, and, you know, like if I saw that dude, if we were on the street and she's like, that's the guy, I'd get out and I'd just bash his fucking head into the sidewalk over and over. I would be like, fuck this. You know, you don't get the fucking privilege of being a fucking monster just because you're down on your luck or whatever the fuck happened to you. So that's the thing, is I can't, you know, if someone was like, oh, you know, you have to understand that he's on the street and it's really tough. Yeah, I understand he's on the street and it's really tough and he's probably mentally ill. And then you got to appeal, well, you know, they closed the hospitals and then a lot of these guys are out here. And then, you know, a lot of these guys are veterans. Yeah, I know all that shit. It's terrible because the more you start talking about it, you start peeling the onion on it, the more you realize we can't fix this. You cannot fucking fix it. It will never be fixed. It is only going to get worse. And that's just the way it is. You know what I mean? And I don't want to hear, you know, everybody's like, well, yeah, because immigrants come here and they can't live or they take the jobs. I fuck all that. All right. These city governments and these states and governments aren't exactly doing what they can to help the people on the fucking street and helping veterans. You know what I mean? They don't care. They don't. There might be select lawmakers. There might be people who have ideals, but the gigantic fucking threshing machine that is this country will never, ever fix this problem. It just won't. It'll grind people into fucking dust under its boot, and it'll print outrageous stories on the front page of newspapers saying, homeless man kills again. We should do something about this. Yeah, we fucking should. But nobody will. And that's just the way it is. And again, I'm not, like I said, I'm not one of these dudes who's like, well, you know, I don't obsess about it all day, but when I'm confronted with it, when I'm outside, when shit happens, you have to fucking ponder it. You have to be like, can you fix this? Can you change it? What can we do? Can we help? Can we not help? Is there a way? So I try to help people individually and do what I can. You know, there's the Ralphs I go to, you know, across the street, there's a Jersey Mike's, and sometimes I'll get a sub, and there is every day and night. I've gone there at 3:00 in the afternoon, and I've been there at 9:30 at night. And there is an abuela, there is a Mexican grandmother in a wheelchair, and she is parked in between the Panda Express and the Jersey Mike's all day. And I've bought her a sandwich. I've given her a bottle of water. If I've had money, I've given her money, but I very rarely have cash. And she's incredibly kind, and she's always thankful, and she's always says, God bless you. And I feel terrible that there's not more I can do for that woman. I wish there was a way I could absolutely, you know, whatever her plight is, if there's a way I could solve it, I would do it. But this is going on 2 years, you know, and it's not like I'm there all the time. Okay. I mean, like, I might once a month go get a sandwich and she's there. And I'm figuring, let's put it this way. I'm figuring if she's there in the afternoon or at night on a Wednesday or a Sunday, she must be there all the fucking time. I don't think she's scheduling her fucking, her begging ritual around when I'm going to, hey, you know that guy who gave me a bottle of water? He might be there again in a month. Let's check it out. And I'd love to help her. And quite frankly, you know, it's that thing where also she's so gentle and kind. You almost want to hug her and just go, man, I'm sorry. I am so sorry that this is happening. But the best I can do is I can ask her what kind of sandwich she wants, and I can get her a sandwich, or I can give her a bottle of water, or I can give her a couple of bucks. And, you know, I'm not solving the whole fucking problem, but I can solve the problem that's right in front of me. So you drive all over. Like I said, I'll wind up down in these fucking, where the raves are downtown, and then I'll wind up in Inglewood and Hawthorne and Lancaster. And these are areas that I've mentioned where it's almost like it's a different planet. I'm not going to lie. You'll be down there at fucking 2:30 in the morning. There's just guys sitting. It reminded me when I was in Murder Town or Murder City, what I thought, Camden in New Jersey. There's just dudes on the street corner at 2:30, just fucking hanging out under a street light, talking, lawn chairs, sitting on the street. And you'll go down a fucking residential street, and there's bars on windows and bars on doors, and you're just like, dude, I'm fascinated by it. Like if I could be invisible and just explore that whole fucking area, I would. And I told you I saw hookers at 7 a.m. I mean, it's just fucking rough. and I've seen hookers at 3 a.m, and I've seen hookers at fucking 10 p.m. I mean, it's fucking crazy. It is eye-opening when you start to explore your city. Because again, I'm in the valley and I see some homeless people and it's like, whoa, man, holy fuck, I can't believe we got this many homeless people here. And then I was down, and there was a fucking helicopter chase, which is fucking ridiculous. So I had to get off the freeway because they had blocked it. So I had to exit, and right on Martin Luther King Boulevard. And there had to be fucking 15 hookers because I had to go down this street because I dropped a rider off, and then I had to go down to turn around. And so I had to turn because there was the cops had blocked off streets. And so I had to drive through these women, and they think, of course, because you're turning down the street, you're coming to talk to them. And there had to be 15 girls in fucking panties and lingerie and bras and just fucking you know what they're there for. And they look at you and they'll smile at you, and you're like, hi. You just kind of like smile and turn around and get the fuck out of there. It is, man, it's a whole different world. So I find this, and the thing that, like I said, in those areas, you expect it. In the valley, I don't really expect it, but I'm saying it's all over the place now. There is no bad area. And look, I'm not saying this, everything's gone to shit, be scared. It's not that. You can, I talked about when I worked at the barbecue joint, man, the beach got dangerous at a certain time. Like you knew, like we would deliver food until 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I told you when I would deliver food on like near the beach, on the beach, guys would be like, give me that fucking food, like give me that fucking, because they would try to scare you or whatever the fuck, and and you just roll your eyes and be like, whatever the fuck, and you just walk around, and I'm of the mind that nothing's going to happen. If you're not looking for trouble, there's not going to be any trouble. You're going to be fine. It's going to be okay. Just a lot of people, jawing and whatever the fuck. But that's what I mean is in Venice, the beaches are, forget it. You can't go on the beach at night on the boardwalk, certain areas you can. But, I was very surprised though, when I got to, I guess it would be Midtown technically, the Wilshire district. Like there's, where the Wiltern is, the Wiltern Theater. I was driving around Wilshire and stuff. So anyway, I got pinged, and I was in that area. And I wound up on, I believe it was Fountain and Normandy. And I was just driving, and it was this thing where I was following the map, and I turned onto Normandy from Fountain, and the streetlights were out. And I was like, and it just all of a sudden got really dark. And I looked, and it got super dark as I kept driving because both sides of the street were packed with tents and people. And it's dark, so I couldn't see. I saw people and I saw movement and I saw them walking around, but it wasn't like I could make out facial features. You just saw shapes moving, and occasionally like the light from the tent or a light from a porch would hit somebody. But it was one. Have you ever this? And look, I'm going to use this example, but I don't. Please don't take it to heart. Have you ever you flipped over a rock, okay, and in the woods or in a field, whatever the fuck, more like the woods, and it's that thing where you identify movement, but your eyes can't adjust to what it is, but there's a button, there's a lot of things moving, and then as your eyes adjust to the dark and the dirt and everything, you realize that there's like 1,000 ants all over the rock, all over the ground, everywhere. And you on the surface, the rock, there's nothing on the rock. It's completely clean, and it's just it's grass and a lawn. Because I used to look for fossils when I was a little kid. All right, and I found some, which were pretty cool. One time I carried home a fucking like a rock. I don't know what it seemed like it weighed 100 pounds, but I carried it home, like fucking, 2 miles, we had to walk that far, because there was a field outside my middle school in Westview. So I would look for fossils. I got into fossils when I was a kid for a while, and I was like, ooh, let's find fossils. And we did. I actually found a couple that were really neat. But as a guy who didn't like bugs, it was pretty fucking weird when you'd be digging around and all of a sudden there'd be like 30 worms. You know what I mean? One of those things where you're digging through the dirt and all of a sudden there's just like you turn over some leaves and there's a bunch of fucking bugs. Because a bug is a bug, all right? You see a bug, whatever the fuck. But when you see all of a sudden like 1,000 fucking ants, you're like, what the fuck? It happened once. I was living with this woman, Kathy. You know who she was. She was the fucking chick who set fire to my stuff. But when I was staying with her long before that, I was staying in her house, and her shower was a fucking nightmare. Like she just gave up. I mean, I have to look back and be honest. I mean, she gave up on her marriage to John because she was fucking me, and so she kind of stopped cleaning the house, and she'd cook dinner, but like her bathroom, she got ants in her fucking bathroom, and like you'd be in the shower and there would be ants along the bottom of the fucking floor all the way, and they'd be walking up the wall, that kind of shit. And it was disgusting. Like I fucking hated it. But also, it wasn't my house, so I couldn't say anything. And also I didn't exactly have any sway there because I was, I was banging this woman. And if her husband wouldn't say, hey man, are you going to clean? You know what I mean? It just felt terrible, whatever. But it was always that thing where, you'd get that thing where your eyes, where you just look for movement. You could kind of see it out of the corner of your eye. But it also wasn't a thing where you had to, it's not like I had to search for it. All of a sudden there was just a fucking ton of ants on the ground and then all the way up the wall. I was like, holy fuck. And that's a California thing. Well, it's everywhere, wherever you get ants. But I mean, in California, there are some places that you get the cleanest house in the world and just ants get in your house. They're just on your kitchen counter. I've been in friends' houses and they're like, yeah, landlord is just like spray. That's all that's their whole thing. You got to just spray. They just come in because it's, it's so dry outside, whatever the fuck. So, all that is to say that in the darkness on Fountain in Normandy, all of a sudden, I just noticed movement kind of everywhere, and it was shapes. And then as my eyes adjusted, I realized it was actual. I mean, there were people everywhere. They were and they were on the ground, sitting on the curb. There were people walking. There were people, and I felt like surrounded all of a sudden, which was fucking really, really scary. It wasn't something I was expecting. You know what I mean? Like I'm just driving down the fucking street and all of a sudden there's tents and it's dark and then there's just movement. And then I realized that it's like I just entered like a suburb, like a city or something. And I have to admit, it freaked me out a little bit. I was like, Jesus Christ. And just for a second, you know what I mean? I didn't panic. I didn't floor it. I didn't do anything, but it was just an odd thing where you're supposedly in a neighborhood. You know what I mean? I'm in a neighborhood of people and, like people's with apartment buildings and houses. And all of a sudden the streets have been overrun by people, by the teeming masses of people who've built tents and lights struck. Because that was another thing. They had like Christmas lights strung between the tents, and they had lights inside the tents. It was a crazy thing. Like I wasn't expecting it, man. And that's the worst I've seen. Besides, like when I talked about Mission Boulevard downtown, that was bad. But it's also right at the Mission. There's a reason it's called Mission Boulevard. It's right at the Mission, right? Well, this is a neighborhood. Like I was just going down the street, and all of a sudden the lights killed, and there's just a million dudes around, and they all look at you. They all like, what the? They all have this like, what are you doing here? Look to them. And look, I understand you got a chip on your shoulder. You know what I mean? You're literally living on the street. So I mean, I can understand why you'd be like, "What the fuck, man? What's going on? Who are you?" You know what I mean? Because who's the new guy who's coming down here and bothering all of us? And I truly didn't mean to bother anybody. I'm just fucking driving, but it doesn't matter. You walk down there and you're like, "Holy fuck!" So I was I was freaked. I'm not gonna lie, and it threw me off a little bit. But I was driving. It wasn't like I was picking anybody up there. You know what I mean? I just kind of, the map took me through there, and in my brain though, I went, you know what? I'm gonna have to remember not to come down here anymore. That's probably what I'm gonna have to do. And that's what so it's on my list of places like, oh yeah, don't go toward there. Just like I said, Broadway Engage, where the guy pulled the fucking gun. I was like, yeah, that's not good. Did I tell that story? I did, right? I think I did. I don't remember. I told about the street fight. Well, I saw a guy rack a gun. Did I must have told you that. I don't know. My brain is all fucked up. I'm pretty sure I told you that story. If I didn't, tell me, and then I'll tell it on the next time. So, did I say Fountain in Normandy? It was Franklin in Normandy. God damn it. It's Franklin in Normandy. So, and look, I don't even know. You don't give a fuck. It's not like you're going to be like, oh, let's go to the crazy place Mike mentioned. You know what I mean? So, hey, and you know what? Maybe Fountain in Normandy is just as bad. So good luck to you guys when you go out exploring. That'd be fine. No, it was fucking Franklin in Normandy. That was crazy. So anyway, I was in the Wilshire district, and I got pinged to pick up a guy on Wilshire. Now, again, the Wilshire district can be fancy. Like I said, the Wiltern Theater is there. You go down, there's a bunch of places to eat and good restaurants. There's theaters. It's really great. But the further south you go, or east you go, the further east you go, it's dicey. And same deal where there's tents. But I will tell you this on Wilshire, they do a much better job of not having the tents, but it doesn't matter because they still have a ton of homeless people wandering the street. They might not be sleeping. It's more well lit, but they are fucking everywhere. And they will walk. They don't give a fuck. They walk right into the street. They don't give a shit about stoplights. They don't care. It's very much, it reminds me when I was in San Diego once. San Diego used to be the worst homeless place I ever was. And it was because I knew it was Navy people and all that stuff. And I was in a city square in San Diego, and this is 30 years ago, 25 years ago. And I couldn't believe it. Like it looked, to me, it felt like a homeless, South Park did a show where they had they were like zombies, and it was just like that when I was in San Diego. And Wilshire's like that. When you go east up Wilshire, it's bad. And like I said, they'll sit on the curb. Sometimes they'll just sit in the street. But this also happens too. There's a stoplight on Wilshire going east, where when the light changes to red, a guy will come out and juggle in the crosswalk. And you know what's weird? I've seen him a bunch of times. I've never seen him once ask for money. Like, it's not like he juggles a bit and then he goes to the car with a cup or anything like that. This guy just comes out and juggles, and then he goes back to the side of the road. And I'm assuming every time there's a red light, he comes out and juggles. Because I've been through there countless times, and I've seen him a bunch of times. And I've never once seen him ask for dough. I've seen people call him over. But he hasn't ever gone like to windows or begged, but he's juggling bowling pins, juggling those rings, those like plastic, they look like a Frisbee with the middle cut out of it. You know what I mean? He's just, and it's wild. I gotta admit, it is fucking so, the first time I ever saw it, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But good for him. You know what I mean? He's, because there are people who just decided, you know what, I have to do this. And because like you see, there's guys out playing guitars and shit all over the place here too, and fucking clarinets. And it's funny, it reminds me when I was in Chicago, there used to be a guy, my buddy Jeff, worked downtown, and every single day, Monday through Friday, there was a guy who just was on the corner, and he was doing like a soft shoe. And he'd just go, have a good day, have a good day, have a good day, like over and over. And with a hat like in front of him. And people would give him money or just throw it in his hat. And Jeff said he's every fucking day. Jeff worked downtown for 2 years. He saw the guy at least every Monday through Friday when he would go by. Have a good day, have a good day. And joyless. It wasn't like the guy was smiling and, had a straw hat or anything like that. Just, and it always felt so lonely when he would tell me about that guy. I'd be like, Jesus Christ. Well, now I see the juggling guy, and I'm like, well, good for this guy. He's carving out a niche for himself, I suppose. I don't know. And it's funny, in my brain, I'm always like, should I give this guy some money? And I'm like, no, I didn't it's not like I invited him to juggle for me in the crosswalk. You know what I mean? He just foisted himself upon all of us. I just because you get a show doesn't mean you wanted a fucking show. So Wilshire's bad. Like, I mean, you'll just drive around, there'll be people just fucking passed out, guys on the street. So I got pinged and there's a guy to pick up. And it was on Wilshire, and I was like, oh, fuck. Because also there's a train stop. Usually when you get to the train stops, that's when you're really going to find a real dense homeless population. So sure enough, I pulled up on Wilshire, and I throw my flashers on, and I don't see the guy. And of course, sitting there with the flashers on, now the homeless people start coming up to my car, and a guy's got the squeegee, and I'm like, no. And then I see, just a little up the street, because the pin sometimes doesn't match. I see a guy, and he's kind of walking, but as he's walking, it's almost like the scene with Robert Stack in fucking Airplane, where he's getting accosted constantly by the homeless people. Like, he's walking, and they're coming to talk to him, and he's like, no, and he's looking, and they're putting their hands out, and they're blocking his way. And so I pull forward, and he waves, and I pull forward and I stop, and he literally kind of just breaks out into a jog and meets me as I'm pulling up. And I unlock the door, and he dives in, and he goes, oh man, thank you. I go, you all right? And he goes, dude, this is a terrible place to be. And I said, yeah, it sure looks like it. He goes, no, I fell asleep on my bus. I go, no. He goes, yeah. And by the time I woke up, I was here. And I could have waited for another bus, and not in this area. And I go, man, how long have you been here? And he goes, well, you were here quick. He goes, but I was here, about 10, 15 minutes, and you saw what was going on? And I go, yeah. And he goes, that was going on the whole time. He goes, and it was never the same guy. He goes, it was always different people, like these waves of homeless whom I didn't recognize. Like, it would always be a different person asking for money. So it wasn't, he couldn't even be mad that someone wouldn't leave him alone. He said it was just this never ending wave of people asking for cash. And he's just like, and then there would be people who just like stand next to him and try to talk to him, and they want to ask him questions, and they'd say, where are you going? And what do you do? And if you've been through it, you know what I'm talking about. And this poor dude had been out there, for 10, 15 minutes, whatever, just getting accosted by waves of fucking people. And so I pulled away. And as I pulled away, of course, a guy stepped in front of the car, and he's waving his hands, and he's like, roll your window down. And I'm like, fuck no, man, that's not happening. And I just flash my brights, and they get out of the way or whatever. It's which is terrible, because then you just feel like, like it's not even a human being. Because you wave, you're like, no, you shake your head, and then the guy's still like, he's waving his arms, like, no, I gotta talk to you. Roll your window down, and you just flash your brights, and you just feel like you're waving a coyote away or something. You know what I mean? Like some animal is in front of the car, and you just say, click, 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 and then they move. You know what I mean? It's just it's so terrible, right? Like, it's such a terrible thing. These are human beings. They're it's all cliche, but I mean, it's somebody's kid. That was somebody's son or daughter, or rarely a daughter. I mean, I don't see a lot of homeless women bothering me, but I mean, it was someone's son. That's somebody's brother. That's and then again, like I said, if you think about it, you'll drive yourself crazy, because in your brain you're like, what do they get? What do they need? What will they ever find a person? Have they ever been loved? You know what I mean? Have they ever? Yeah, it's just so awful. It's so awful, man. So this guy gets in my car, and I said, well, how long would you have had to wait for the bus? He goes, I don't even know. He goes, but I've been here like 15 minutes. He gets in, and as we're driving, and I go, I tell him my story of Franklin and Normandy. I says, well, I'll tell you, I go, this area is bad. And he goes, oh my God. He goes, it's so, so bad. Like, I knew I was in trouble when I had to get off the bus here. I said, well, I go, I drive all the time every night, and I'm always in different places. And and I told him the story about, the fight that I had come upon down in East South LA or South Central or whatever the fuck. And he's like, oh my God, yeah. He goes, they're in my neighborhood, it's bad. He goes, there's people they're just under trees, or, in the lobby of my apartment building. They will jump the fence. They climb, because he said, I have a huge fence that you have to buzz yourself in. He goes, they climb the fence and they'll get in the lobby and they'll sleep in the lobby. And I said, so of course I've got swapped my stories of people sleeping by the pool and the guy in the tent outside. And he goes, oh, it's terrible. He goes, in the street, he goes, it's dark, like on my street. So you see them out of the corner of your eye. And I'm like, yeah, it was so funny. He was basically telling me everything that I've just told you guys. He's like, yeah, you'll see guys, there'll be a guy like sleeping on the lawn or like, he goes, because I have a car. He goes, it's at home in my carport. I didn't want to take it today. He goes, but now like part of me doesn't even want to leave my car in my house because I don't know. He goes, because guys have been sleeping in the carport. He goes, you have to lock your car or people will sleep in your car. And I didn't want to tell him, yeah, I've done that. I got kicked out of my house once and I slept in people's open cars. But I said, yeah, it's a weird thing. I go, I go, and then we had the discussion that I've had with you guys where I'm like, and there's no solution. And he's like, no, there isn't. There's just you can't fix it. I don't know why it became this way. And I go, well, we all know why. And he's like, well, yeah, sure. And he goes, but it's getting worse, right? And I go, oh my God, it's so bad. I go, I live in the Valley, and in the Valley we'd have, there was a running thing with, when I was with my ex-wife, there was one homeless guy. We would see him every day. And we called him the walking man because he would walk. We would see him sometimes in Sherman Oaks. We'd see him in Valley Village. We'd see him in North Hollywood. He'd just be there, and he was constantly just walking the whole area, and you'd see him every day. But now, fuck that. There's, like I said, there's tents, there's people, there's, families sleeping in cars. So I said, yeah, and we both commiserated about how there's no way to fix it. So by the time I got him to his apartment building, I drove down his block and I was like, Jesus Christ, yeah, this is dark. And I said, this is like Franklin and Normandy when I was there, man. I go, that's just, it seemed like everywhere you looked, there was humanity. It was just people. And also another thing too that contributes to this is, we've had taco trucks here for a long time, and you've heard me probably say this in the past. Well, now every block has a pop-up. It has a canopy, and it's guys making El Pastor. It's guys making tacos. But now there's a place by my house that sells Mediterranean food, like kebabs and rice. And the thing that cracks me up, I'm like, look, these are supposed to be convenient. All right. If I need a fork, this is not a convenient stop for me anymore. And if you're handing out forks, you're no longer just like a pop-up food place. Now you're handing out weapons. You're giving people sharp objects. That's not fucking good at all. But there's Mediterranean food. There's pupusas. There's tacos. There's shawarma. And they're on every single block. And it is between that and then the teeming masses of fucking humanity in the street. It's like fucking Calcutta in some neighborhoods. If you go to East LA, it's absolutely crazy. There's awesome street markets you can go to that are fun, but like I was in East LA and I was just picking up a guy at a bar, and this was fucking 1:50 in the morning. All right. And I pulled up out front, and there was a woman standing out there, and so I thought she was the ride. And as I pulled up, and then there's another, like a taco stand, and there's a couple people at the taco stand. And as I pull up, this girl comes over, and I unlock the door, and she opens the front door, and I go, "Hey, are you Mark or whatever the fuck?" And she just goes, "No, it's $100." And I go, "Excuse me?" And she's like, it's $100 if you want to fuck. And I go, no, my God, no, I'm here picking somebody up. I thought you were I'm an Uber. I thought you were my ride. And she's like, oh, okay. No. And then she just closes the door and walk away. And I'm like, fuck me, man. And that was in like a regular neighborhood. That wasn't even like down in South Central. It was in East LA, but it was busy. There was a bunch of people out there, and there was food. And granted, it's still 2 in the fucking morning, but Jesus Christ. But that's what I mean, where when I say like Calcutta or India, there's just, you can buy food on the street at 3 in the morning, and they're there all night. And I mean, it's such an odd transition, man. And it seemingly happened overnight. You know, we always had taco trucks. Those were fucking great. And there would be a truck, and then they'd have some chairs and tables. But now these pop-up card tables where they're just, you know, it's like a hot plate and they're selling you tortillas and fucking, you're like, what the fuck, man? And, you know, there's places that sell pizza out of their house. Man, the pandemic just fucking, and look, it wasn't the pandemic. You know what I mean? Everything was heading this way. We're we're all swirling fucking clockwise. I get it. But man, oh man, it is. And again, I'm not sitting here going, oh, this country and blah, blah, blah. You know, we all know the problems and the issues and stuff. But when you actually sit and think about it, when you're out there and you're experiencing it, you're just like, Jesus fucking Christ. That's why it'll make me laugh when you'll hear like people in the suburbs or whatever, or suburban places. And, you know, they're, oh my God, it's so scary to go to Chicago. Chicago is so fucking terrible. And it's like, no, man, if you're not looking for trouble, it's fine. But also, man, if you've lived your whole life, I don't even want to say sheltered, like just without confrontation, it doesn't take a whole lot to make you think that everything's fucking scary, you know? I'm going to pivot here and I'm going to talk about something you're not going to care about, but I don't care. There's a pro wrestling organization called AEW. And the reason I'm bringing this up, this just happened yesterday. There's a wrestler named CM Punk. And CM Punk used to wrestle for AEW. He hadn't wrestled in like fucking 10 years or whatever it was. And then they signed him and they brought him in. And CM Punk is, I really like him, but he is he's about as close as you're going to get to like a cult leader narcissist as you're ever going to find in certainly in wrestling. He's so charismatic and so unbelievably good on the microphone, but also any perceived slight and he will get physical, like he fights. It's a strange way to describe him, but it's totally true. And so right now there's a controversy. He got fired from AEW and he then signed with WWE, who he had become a star with, 15 years ago. But he said he would never go back because they had blood money, and then he finally went back, and it was, was I disappointed? I don't know. I just like seeing him perform. I'm a fan. But the reason he got fired from AEW is he had been in a couple of physical confrontations. In one of them, he had given a press conference, and at this press conference, he had talked a bunch of shit about these wrestlers, these dudes who ran the company. They were like executive vice presidents, but also wrestlers. And then when he went in the back, a fight broke out between him and three of these wrestlers and one of his friends and his dog. And like, it was crazy. And you never got a true story about what happened. One guy did get bit and he had visible teeth marks in his arm. It was in a crazy situation. So CM Punk also got injured, and so he had to take some time off, and then he got suspended, and they wound up suspending the EVPs, and it was a big mess. Which sounds crazy because you would think in wrestling that this shit happens all the time. Well, I mean, it used to. That was the thing, is it really used to happen all the time, where there'd be guys fighting or physical confrontations and stuff like that. Well, Punk came back, and then they had to keep him separate from the guys he had been in the fight with, so they had a separate show, and he was on that, and they were never on. But then some of the other wrestlers didn't like him, and they started talking shit about him on the air without approving it. So then he started talking shit about them. It was just, it's a zoo. And it's nonsense, and I don't even know what I'm telling you. Well, the reason I'm telling you is because he wound up in another physical confrontation with the son of Luke Perry from Beverly Hills 90210. And I'm like, I know you're like, why the fuck would he fight Luke Perry's kid? Well, Luke Perry's kid is a wrestler named Jungle Boy. And he wanted to do a stunt where he wanted to use real glass and break it by going through a windshield. And CM Punk, there were people who told him he couldn't do it, and he swore at them, and he was all mad. And then they told CM Punk to tell him that he couldn't do it, and Punk told him he couldn't. And then at a pay-per-view, he wound up doing it anyway. And he looked into the camera, and he said, "Cry me a river," which was directed right at CM Punk. So then he goes backstage, and CM Punk confronts him, and I guess there's a fight, and then CM Punk gets fired. Okay, you don't care. I know. I'm getting to the point. But the point of it is, nobody knew what happened. There was a bunch of stories about what had possibly happened and all these things. So finally yesterday, AEW, as part of a wrestling angle, because that's how the fucking world works, even though CM Punk is gone and he's in WWE, he gave an interview last week that made the owner of AEW mad, so he decided to show the footage because they thought it would make CM Punk look bad because he was a liar. Blah, blah, fucking blah, you don't care. But the point is they showed the footage yesterday. It's 90 seconds long. And basically, it shows the backstage where Jungle Boy is, and then CM Punk comes and confronts him, and he's standing in front of him. And they talk for probably like 30 seconds, 30, 40 seconds. And then Jungle Boy he says something to him, and then CM Punk fucking gives him a two-handed shove. And then it looks like Jungle Boy goes to try to tackle him, and he grabs him in a front face lock, and he puts a choke on him. CM Punk puts a choke on him. And then and people break it up, and then he punches him. He takes a swing at him. It looks like as he gets pulled away, but then he gets pulled over to the side, and that's where the owner of the company is. And CM Punk knocks over some monitors, and it looks like he yells at the owner of the company and possibly lunges at him. Who the fuck knows? Well, when this happened 8 months ago, and they fired CM Punk, the owner of the company went out and gave a speech about why they fired CM Punk, and he said that he was afraid for his life with what had happened at Wembley in England at this fight. And people were like, what the fuck happened? It must be insane. And then they showed the footage last night, and everyone is making fun of the owner because they're like, that's what made you fear for your life? That little fucking 40-second fight? That little dust-up? And what I'm here to say is, there's nuance involved if you examine this, because there's a lot of people who are like, because there's two different camps, because there are people who hate CM Punk and people who love him. The people who love him are like, because in the interview he gave last week, he basically said everything that happened. He described it. And when they showed the footage, it matched virtually identically with everything that he had said, except he had said that Jungle Boy had gotten in his face and stepped to him, and it didn't look like that in the video. It looks like CM Punk is the initiator and the instigator the whole time. But there's all these different levels in this nuance. So there's people who are like, in this video, CM Punk was right and fuck Jungle Boy. And then there are people like, CM Punk attacked a coworker and he needs to be fired and possibly arrested. Like all the, and it's such a generational divide, particularly among wrestling and wrestling fans. And I think just an age thing, because there's two different things I want to talk about. One, all the fans who are saying that Punk is a psychopath and he lost control and he attacked a coworker, and they always frame it like, try that at your job. Like if you attacked a coworker at your job and you put him in a chokehold, like they'd put you in fucking jail. And it's like, you're probably right. If you work at Walmart or in an office and you get into a fight and you put somebody in a chokehold, yeah, there's going to be consequences. You're probably going to get fired and you're probably going to have the police involved. Well, wrestling's different. And I don't give a fuck how many people are like, well, no, it's still a job. It's not the same kind of job. There are wrestlers who've been stabbed backstage. There's always fights. In this particular company, there's a guy named Eddie Kingston who's punched a guy for calling him fat. There's been a guy named Andrade who attacked a wrestler. They've had altercations in the back before. And in the history of wrestling, because it is all fake tough guy stuff, there's been fights in every single organization between guys. And then there would always be the debate about who was a real fighter, who was a shooter, who could really go. And so fans would get caught up in that kind of thing. But CM Punk did get fired. I don't know what else you wanted. People are like, he should be in jail, all these different... And it's like, no, because you have to understand there's different... Even in the real world, there's different. Because again, the world has changed. I'm 56 years old, all right? It used to be if you talked a bunch of shit and somebody hit you, you fucking took that ass whooping, or you fought back, or you got up and brushed yourself off and went, man, I got to shut the fuck up. But now... people look at it and go, hey man, there's never any good cause to hit somebody. And I understand that logic and I understand that thinking. And CM Punk should not have hit Jungle Boy, but all right, because the way CM Punk tells the story, again, Jungle Boy had been talking shit for a week. People told him he couldn't do stuff. He cursed out a couple of guys backstage. He cursed out an announcer. He said that thing into the camera, Cry Me a River. And then backstage, when they were having that discussion, CM Punk says that Jungle Boy said to him, why don't you do something about it? And that's when fucking Punk hit him. Okay? And, you know, in the old days, because this is another thing, CM Punk is 46 years old. Jungle Boy is, I think, 24. It's a completely different generation. It's a completely different era. You know, Jungle Boy grew up in an era where you could talk a bunch of shit on a keyboard or you could say shit to people and nobody did anything about it. You know, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just the way it is. Whereas CM Punk grew up in wrestling. You know, he started wrestling, I think, when he was 18 years old. So for 28 years off and on, this has been his industry, and he grew up in the industry where backstage, if you got punked, you were a pussy fucking forever. And so you had to stand up, you had to point things out, and also he showed respect to veterans as he was getting, you know, more popular in the business until he became an established veteran. And I'm sure at 46, he thinks to himself, hey man, I need some respect here. Like, you can't just get in my face and say to me, do something about it, and tell me cry me a river on a fucking camera. And so, yeah, he boiled over and he fucking hit the kid. And I can see both points. That's the thing, is there's no nuance. Everybody's like, he needs to go to jail, or Jungle Boy's a pussy. No, man, it's two completely different eras. And and we have a lot of that issue in the world. Honestly, that's a lot of the problems that we have out there now, because the younger generation, you know, Gen Z or who, I don't know what the fuck, you know, they live differently. They're more accepting of different people. They're more accepting of gender fluidity. They're more accepting of these things, and the world is changing. And there's this old guard who grew up a different way, who, you know, would call someone the F word if they thought they were, you know, effeminate, or would beat someone up, or, you know, and that's how they solve problems, and they see that world slipping away from them. And so now they're ratcheting up even more of a response because they don't want to see the world change. And the Gen Z kids are like, hey man, die already. You know what I mean? It's like, this world is changing and you better change with it. And that's why you see these older people who keep fucking rallying, and they keep changing laws, and they keep gerrymandering fucking districts, and they change the voting, and they because the old people see the end coming. They do. And I'm not even going to talk about, you know, Republicans and Democrats. Well, fuck it, I will. Republicans, you know, their ideas are passé. This stripping women of their rights, this DEI bullshit, this trying to keep minorities down, it's fucked. And it's all being done out of fear and trying to continue to control a planet that they've controlled forever. And I don't just say that about Republicans. That's about older people as well, totally. But Republicans seem to be the party of that religion and all the people who want to do that. You know, and look, I don't think either party is worth a shit at this point. I'm not a guy who's like, yeah, you got to vote blue. I don't give a fuck. All right, like I told you, I don't vote for me anymore because I'm 56. I'm old and white. I can't imagine in the amount of time I have left on this fucking planet, anything's going to get bad for old white guys. I just don't see it. You know, so I try to vote for young people and for black people and for Hispanics and for you know, gay people and trans people and non-burning books and women's rights and safety for everyone. And you know, I also told you my thinking has evolved regarding countries and borders and shit like that. Holy shit, O.J. Simpson just died. Sorry, that news just burst across my screen. Hi guys, I know I'm not breaking that news because you've heard it already, and that'll tell you I'm recording this. It's like 8 a.m. on Thursday. But yeah, O.J. Simpson just died at the age of 76. You don't care, but that was pretty freaky. That's not as freaky as when Michael Jackson died and I was driving to do the podcast and it came over the radio. I was like, what the fuck? By the way, I will tell you this. O.J. Simpson did not die of cancer. He killed himself because I won't stop talking about wrestling. Clearly he was like, all right, man, that's it. All right. There are different generations, and it's so funny to see a country be torn apart. And so this wrestling thing, like I said, it's a microcosm of it. It's like old guard people are like, hey, man, you should show some fucking respect for someone who's done so much for this industry and given his life to it. And the young guys are like, fuck you. You know what I mean? That's. And so in this video, you see the fight, and look, man, if a guy says to you, like, and again, in my age, if a guy says to you, why don't you fucking do something about it in front of a bunch of other guys, well, you're probably going to shove the guy in the chest and see what happens then at that point. And is it right? No, but that's what happens. Sometimes you just get your ass kicked. Sometimes you kick somebody's ass. That's the generation I grew up in. And I know the world has changed, because also it was funny to see the people debating it yesterday, because there are people, they use the verbiage, CM Punk attacked a coworker. And I'm like, well, he shoved him. And then the coworker, kind of charged forward and he put him in a chokehold. And these people are like, oh my God, he was psychotic. He lost control. He lost his mind. He's an abuser. And then they try to speculate. Well, AJ Lee is his wife. We haven't seen her recently. I bet she's not happy. All this, everybody, because the internet is full of roaches and everybody has to fucking make their speculation, which is terrible. But that's how people are. But they all, like I said, they all use the verbiage of he attacked him. He's a liar who he physically, and you're just like, dude, I've seen literally like more intense fights in a pickup basketball game. Like and that's the thing. It makes me wonder if this whole generation has just never been involved in any sort of back and forth, any sort of dust up, any sort of scrap. Are truly all of these young people just all like, we all get along? Because that doesn't seem to make sense, but maybe it is. I don't know. I have no idea. But I've seen enough fucking World Star clips to know that that's not the case. I don't know who these fucking people are. But another part of it is, I said already that the owner of AEW said that he felt, to the point that I just made, he said that he felt like his life was in danger when this happened. And in the video, a guy gets shoved. There's a couple of guys, one guy grabs a face lock, then they break it up, and then he turns around and he starts yelling at someone. We can't see if it's the boss, but I'm sure it is. And then he gets taken away. And people are laughing because they're like, oh, that's when you felt your life was in danger? And Tony Khan, who is the owner of AEW, I think he's only like 40, maybe. And he's a multi-billionaire. Legit. Like his dad, Shad Khan, owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. He owns some Chelsea or some fucking big ass Premier League team. I don't know how they made their money, but they made it. And Tony Khan, has wanted to be a wrestling guy forever, and so he's built this company. He partnered with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes. He built this from the ground up. But this is a guy who, he's lived a life of privilege. He's a billionaire. He was born into billions. And it doesn't surprise me at all that to see a guy who's made a living in combat sports 3 feet away from you turn around and yell at you, and you've never been in a physical confrontation, you've never been in a fight, you've never been in any, you've literally led a life encased in a golden bubble, that maybe it would absolutely scare the shit out of you. And yeah, you would fear for your life because you've never been in danger before. So, right in front of you, you see a huge, like a dust up. It's not violent. It's not particularly violent, but it's still violence. and a guy gets shoved, a guy comes forward, he gets caught in a face lock, and then a guy throws a punch and they get pulled apart, and then the guy who was, who won whatever you want to call the dust up was, then turns to you, knocks a monitor over, and he points at you and impossibly lunges at you. You can't really tell from the tape, and then he gets kind of pulled away. You would freak out. I've talked about this before. There would be people who you would see a clip of a fight, or even when I was bouncing, and you would see a fight break out, and people would start crying. I've cried after a fucking fight. Whenever it ended, and you're just standing there and you're fucking shaking, and all of a sudden your eyes just start watering. You can't stop it because it's fucking traumatic, man. And I'm not exactly fucking Rocky Marciano. I've just been in shit that just happened because of my jobs or wherever I was. But like so sometimes I've been in a couple where it's afterwards I was like really shaken up. And I've been in a few of those situations. So when a guy who's probably never been in any sort of fucking back and forth winds up in the middle of one, that may not look serious to you because, again, you may live a life where you've been involved in some sort of violent altercation, or many of them, or at least a couple. And again, there's also a bias here as men. As boys, you fight growing up. As you play football, like I said, pick up basketball game. You get guys shoving one another. Locker room, you wind up in a fight. In wrestling, I told you we played mat games when I was a kid. Darren Chisholm elbowed me in the fucking head. I can still feel it behind my eye. I mean, it's just you can live that sort of life where you're just you're roughhousing. It's as boys we did, and then as you get older to men, it's a possible thing. You're playing football in the park. Or you're training MMA or whatever the fuck you're doing. You can live a physical life. And if you've never done that and you've never been exposed to it before, yeah, it can be pretty fucking terrifying if a wild-eyed combat sports veteran who's actually fought in the UFC wheels on you and lunges for you. Maybe you did scare. You were afraid for your fucking life. So watching this discourse over the past fucking 14 hours where people like, A, Punk's a maniac who should be in jail. B, Tony Khan, how that scared you. Oh my God, this wasn't that much of a fight. All these different things. It's like, man, there are levels of fighting. There are levels where if you've never been in a fight or never experienced one, and all of a sudden one just happens and you happen to be a foot away from it, it's fucking crazy. It can be crazy. And it can be crazy if you've been in a bunch of fights. If you're sitting there, and you see a guy get fucking jaw jacked and slept, and you're like, what the fuck? It's a crazy thing. So it gets to the point I was saying where there's a whole new generation of people who want to live a certain way, or they think things should be one way. And then there's also people in that generation who don't agree with that. And there's also older people who feel the way I feel, that young people should be, in charge, and these old people should fucking release their death grip on the fucking planet already. And that's why I say there's no answers for any of this. And that's, I've always phrased it where I'm like, I have no hope. I will say that. I've said it on stage, and I have to find a different way to phrase it because people get fucking weirded out when I say it. Just like Dennis when I said I was going to be dead in 15 years. When I say I have no hope, it's not like I think there's a nuclear war coming. I just say that there are so many differences in this world, and so many people have dug themselves into so many trenches and refuse to hear the other side that it's intractable. And it's just going to lead to the hopefully slow, but certainly faster than I want it to be, demise of this society. And I know that sounds ridiculous because it sounds ridiculous to say it. I've said before, it's so odd to see a system of government or that you've lived under for your entire life fall apart before your very eyes. And I used to have these discussions with Jesuit. He would be like, hey man, the 70s were awful. Planes were getting hijacked and the gas lines and all this. And I agree. I hear him, but a lot of the things that were terrible then, like, racism and the treatment of women, still exist. And with 50 years of pressure brought to bear, as nothing's changed, and we're going backwards, quite frankly. And look, I'm no fucking societal genius. You know what I mean? I'm not a cultural anthropologist, or whatever other label you want to hang on me. I just know what I see, and what I see is a lot of tension, and a world that's constantly being played against itself, and I see, and I again, just the fact that I think the things I believe are the way to go. I think I'm on the right side of history with the things I believe, you know? But there's somebody who believes the complete opposite of what I believe, and they are just as dug in and think that everything they're thinking is the right side of history. You know, and there are people who are influenced by their religion, influenced by the Bible, influenced by the parental guidance or the lack thereof. You know, everybody's got their own opinion and their own outlook, and that's what I mean when I say, like, I can't understand these people who think that burning books or this DEI fucking CRT, was that what it was? C critical race theory, whatever the fuck, any of this bullshit that they all made up because they want to say the N-word but they can't. Look, man, when that fucking boat, I'm sure you saw this, when the boat in Baltimore slammed into the bridge, okay, I was up, I was awake, and I saw it happen on, I checked Twitter and it happened 5 minutes before that, and I kept watching the video, and I'm like, holy fuck, because again, it's crazy to watch an entire bridge collapse, but also I was trying to watch the boat, because I'm like, what is going on here? Like, because, I was only seeing the far away shot, and I said, it looked like it had hit the pillar, and it was stuck there, and then all of a sudden there was like a big froth in the water, and I was like, well, this must be it trying to back away from the pillar and pull away, and then the pillar couldn't take it, and it all collapsed. But then when I read that, I then saw the actual clip with the zoom in on the boat, and the fact that the boat hit the bridge and it collapsed in like 10 seconds. Like, it wasn't even a fucking issue. Like, because I thought maybe the boat, because again, stupid me, I thought bridges were fucking built better than that. I don't know, man. And look, also, when I realized how big, because then I found out how big the boat was. It's not even a boat, it's a ship. And it's bigger than the tallest building in Cleveland. It weighed 100,000 tons. Like, it's a fucking outrageous number. And it was like 5 stories long. And so when they zoomed in on it and you saw it coming, and the lights go off and on, and then it bangs the pillar, and like 3 seconds later, boom, the whole bridge comes down. I was like, once I found out how big the boat was, I was like, all right, well, yeah, that makes sense. Fuck. And they lost power and they zoom. But sure enough, I mean, again, I'm watching it within 5 minutes of it happening. I'm watching the clip. And then over the next fucking 12 to 16 hours, all the bullshit. Hey, is this a terrorist? Hey, why did the lights go out? Hey, you can't just bank a ship that way. Hey, I had heard it was, and then they pivoted to where they said it was DEI hires at the boat company in Singapore or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck? You're going to pivot and blame this on black people? Are you fucking joking? But that's what, and again, that gets to a problem with social media where all of a sudden people just start putting fucking garbage out there to throw as much garbage as they can into the mix to fuck with it, and to say it was terrorism, and and a boat just doesn't do that, and this Singapore company had connections to a company in Hamas, or and you're like, what are you talking? And it's all lies. It's all garbage. It's all fucking lies. But it doesn't matter. It goes around the fucking world in 5 seconds. And I'm reading it, and I'm just going, we're dead. We're fucking dead. I don't understand how you're going to try to hang this on the hiring practices of the fucking Singapore boat people. What the fuck? And sometimes, look, man, screws fall out. The world's an imperfect place. Sometimes stuff just fucking happens. Sometimes a boat fucking loses power and crashes into a bridge. What I was more freaked out about is the fact that then I'm reading that the fucking boat company, there was like safety generated, like, again, you start reading and you're like, there's all these safety things that they cut And these generators, and also they were running at half a crew because they didn't want to pay. And this doubles right back to what I said, where I was like, this whole world's a fucking house of cards. And everyone is living check to fucking check. Because, a company like that now will, they'll blame everybody else, and then they'll get some fucking weird bailout. They already got to spend money to rebuild the bridge, but then the boat company, it's like the airlines, they do the buybacks, then they ask for the fucking bailout money, and they get it. And it's always companies that get it, but it's not people. They gave people money for the pandemic, and then they fucking put the kibosh on that, and they tell you now that COVID's fine, and it's not, man. It's fucking not. I keep reading about all these people with long COVID. I have a friend who's a nurse, and they once again, they had people in the parking lot. I mean, it's fucking crazy. But they just want you to pretend that everything's fine and ignore it. And so that's what I mean when I say you can't fix any of this. And I know people want to be optimistic, and good for them. What I really hate is super pessimism. I do. I don't like that. I don't want to hear Schleprock go, wowzy, whoa, whoa, the boats and the bridges. I don't want to be that guy. But at the same time, I can't live in this world and ignore how it's being fucking stripped for parts. I do the joke on stage where I said Elon Musk wants to go to Mars and Jeff Bezos wants to go to Mars. I said, they want to say it's about exploration in the future, but you ever think maybe it's because they've strip mined this fucking planet for all the fucking resources they could get off of it, and they're trying to split before it all fucking falls apart? There's a thin line between a childhood dream and a hasty retreat. So, and look, is this a sourpuss show? Maybe. I don't know. Should I instead have talked about the Roadhouse movies I watched? Probably. And we'll do that on a last night at Schmitty's. And right now I keep wiping shit off my lip. I hope you're not hearing bubbles, whatever the fuck. Terrible. All right. So let me finish. I got to tell you this fucking story. And remember also, if I didn't tell you about the guy who pulled the gun, you got to remember and tell me, because I think I did whatever a couple weeks ago, but I don't remember. And that could be part of this COVID brain fog I've been experiencing that I heard about. You're all very kind. When I talked about it on the show, people wrote me and they're just like, "Yeah, dude, that's COVID. Brain fog's COVID." And I'm like, "Fuck." And also having this COVID and it not going away and me continuing to test positive. Like I said, also I am a god. Like, I could go out and fucking make people sick and give people the plague, which makes me very powerful. So please don't piss me off. But at the same time, you know what I mean. I'm Googling it, of course, trying to figure out how long everything lasts, and then also I'm reading about long COVID, and then I'm reading about the brain fog, and I'm reading about eventually, like, this could, if you're not careful, it can fuck your lungs up for a long time. And I'm supposed to be back in the fucking gym, and I backed out of that now for 2 fucking weeks. And I don't want to go to the gym and get back on the treadmill, and I'm like, ugh, you know what I mean? It'll be fucked. It's already bad enough. My throat is still fucked. Whatever. Who cares? Don't Google anything ever. You'll terrify yourself. I know I do. All right. So I take this guy and look at that pivot. And we have a discussion about how everything is falling apart and how shocking it is to see it happen so quickly. And like I said, I'm not one of these guys, I'm not trying to be like illegals and lock up the Walgreens and all that shit. Cause I also don't think it's incredibly bad, but I mean, you can go into pockets of places that are fucking bad. Anyway, so I'm driving him. He's on, I believe he was on Catalina Street. And so I go down his block, and it's completely pitch black, and I see that there's people. Same deal. It looked just like fucking Franklin and Normandy. So I go to drop him off, and he's just like, "Man, stay safe out here." I said, "You too." I said, "Christ, if you're going through the lobby, I'm going to wait till you're inside. You make sure." And he's like, "No, I'm good. I guess it's fine." I said, "All right, cool, thanks." And he's very nice. He splits, and now I've got to go up Catalina. I get pinged for a ride. Okay, right away. So I'm like, "Oh, that's good." So I head up Catalina in the dark, and I have to head up to Catalina, and it's Catalina and First. Okay. And I pull up, and there's a stoplight. And I can see I'm about 3/4 of the block down. So I drive up this super dark street. But ahead at Catalina and First, there are street lights, which is good. And also there are traffic lights. But I can see clearly that someone is standing in the street. Like there's a figure. I don't know who it is or what it is, but there's someone in the street. So I pull up, and as I get closer up the block, they're not on my side of the street. You know, I have to pull up to the light at Catalina and First, where they're across the intersection, and they're on the other side. If I was to drive through, I would have to go where they were, but they're across the street from me, I guess is how I'm going to describe it. So I pull up, and as I'm getting closer, I see them, and they have their arms are not at their sides. Their arms are out at 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Okay. And they're wearing, I see it's a black person, and they have short dreads, small dreads that come down about to their eyebrow. You know what I mean? And all the way around their head. I can see them across the way, and as I pull up, I get to the light, and they've got their hands out like kind of akimbo at 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock. And I'm like, it's strange. It looks like they're in a stance of some kind. And as I get closer, as I pull up, they raise their arms into a crucifix position. And they're just standing in the street. And their legs are apart. I should say that. Okay. So when they put their arms up in the crucifix position and their legs are apart, they look like that diagram of that, I believe it's Da Vinci made, of the human form, where it's just got the circles and it's just the person kind of standing with their legs out. That's to my memory. I can't speak to it. I hope I'm right. But they have their hands out, so their arms are completely out now, straight in crucifix position, and then their legs are apart. They're wearing red pants and a red sweatshirt, goes all the way down to their wrists, and bright white sneakers, like super noticeably white. Nikes, because you can see, I didn't even see the color, but I just saw white with the red pants and then the red sweatshirt. And when I say red, like they didn't match. It wasn't a matching uniform. The pants were bright red, and the shirt was more of a, almost like a ketchup red, like a dark red. Okay. So they get their hands out apart of the crucifix. They got their legs spread. And as I pull up, I get to the light, and they're across from me, and they're in the center of the street. Okay. And then I have to stop because it's a red light. And I have to turn right, but I'm looking at them, and they start to dance. That's the only way I can describe it. They hop, right foot, left foot, arms still out at a crucifix position, and they go to their right. Okay. And so that's my left. And I watch them, and they're, by the way, huge grin, huge smile. Like wide open eyes and a huge smile. And as they're doing this dance to their right, my left, their dreads are flopping, like, because they're moving their head too, and the dreads are flopping. It's like do 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 do, and they dance all the way across to the right. And like I said, I could turn right, but I'm transfixed. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. There's nobody else around. They don't have anybody with them. But And I think I've told you that something that really freaks me out, and it's always freaked me out in my life, is a big smile, like a weird maniacal grin. And I can only describe what they have on their face as a maniacal grin. And also, I don't even know if it's a man or a woman because the sweatshirt's a little oversized at this point. And they bounce back and forth, hop from foot, right, left, hop to their right, my left. Okay. And then they go back. Right, because they went from the center of the street all the way to the end to the sidewalk, and then they bounce again, right, left, and they go across the crosswalk all the way to the right hand side. With like I said, the dreads are bouncing, hands are still at the crucifix, and they're bouncing on their legs. Big grin, staring right at me, big wide eyes and a grin. And I'm looking and I'm like, I'm trying to make sense of it. Truthfully, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just like, because I'm watching it and look, you see a bunch of crazy shit on the street, but this was different from anything I've ever seen because they were looking at me the whole time. Like they were looking at me the whole time. And so they make it all the way to the end, to their left, my right. And immediately they fucking run right at me. And I'm like, what the fuck? And like I said, I can turn right, but they don't run right at my car. They run like a football player who has the angle on a breakaway runner. So I have to turn right and they're trying to run in front of me. They hop all the way to the end and they get their arms at crucifix level and they're smiling with the big eyes and then they just fucking drop their face and they run on an angle right to where I have to be. They don't go, if they go right for the car, it's different, but they're trying to cut me off. Clearly they're trying to get because I have my signal on. So I floor it. I'm like, what the, and I literally out loud, I go, what the fuck? And I turn and they're fast. And then I see it's a guy, and my window's open, my back window and my front window, because it was nighttime and I didn't want the air on. And I hear them laughing, like just fucking like a crazy laugh. And I floor it, and they cut across, and they're on an angle. They're fast as fuck, and I'm flooring it. And as I turn, because I have to also bank around cars that are parked on the street, so I have to get closer to them. And as I get to them, they reach out and they hit the fucking trunk of the car. Bam, bam! They hit it twice, and then I pull away. And I heard them laughing. They hit the car, and I look in the rearview mirror, and they kept running. They kept running at me, and I just turned down the next street possible without even stopping. I didn't even look. And I drove. And I got to go pick somebody up. And I'm telling you, I have goosebumps now. It's the craziest fucking thing that's ever happened to me. I've had people fight. I've had people fucking spit at me. I've had homeless people hit my hood of my car. The dance, the fucking weird hands at 4 and 7, and then they raise them up to crucifix level as I pull up, and just staring right at me, looking right in the car. Smiling, big smile, wide eyes, the dance all the way to their right, and then the dance all the way to the left, and then just immediately dropped the arms and fucking ran and took an angle. Like they weren't running at the front of my car. They took an angle because they were going to be in front when I turned. You know what I mean? Like they were going to get in front of my car. And if they got in front of my car, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. And I didn't even think, because my windows were open, I just fucking floored it, and they cut. And as I cut, they were right by my driver's side door, but because I floored it and they fucking hit the trunk of the car twice, laughing the whole fucking time. And I turned down the street, and it's funny. I turned down the street and I go, fuck no fucking way. I was so freaked out. Like I would goosebumps, and it was like, and I was yelling. Like I was so fucking jazzed up and excited. Like I was adrenaline out of my fucking skull. And I go, nope, no fucking way. Fuck that. That's some fucking Pennywise shit. Are you fucking kidding me? You fucking run right at me? That is some goddamn Pennywise the fucking clown bullshit. Where's your red fucking balloon? Like, I mean, I'm yelling in my car because I'm so juiced. I'm so fucking whacked out, man. And I finally got a hold of myself. And I like I said, I got pinged for a ride. So I go to a fucking bar. and I pick up a guy and a chick, and you know me. I told you, people get in the car and I'm like, hey man, if you want to change the heat, you want to change the radio, great. And I leave them alone. I couldn't. I had to say something. So they get in the car and I'm like, I go, I know people don't talk to drivers and whatever. I go, but I just had a crazy thing happen and I have to talk about it. And they're like, sure, what happened? And I said, I was just back at Catalina and First, just like a fucking mile and a half away. And then I explained everything. I go, they were in the street, and then they raised their arms and then they danced like, and it wasn't even not a dance, like just hopped from foot to foot, back and forth. I go, and then they fucking ran at the car. I go, they hit my car. Like they were laughing. They were staring right at, and I'm trying to explain just like I told you guys. And these two dullards who have been drinking are just like, oh man, it's that, wow. And I'm like, yeah, wow. I mean, like he tried to get in front of the car. They're like, oh, well, yeah, well, good for you, man. That's lucky. I'm like, what's lucky? And they're like, well, it's lucky you got away. Yeah, it's you know, I'm glad nothing happened. And I was so fucking mad. Like I just wanted to yell, get out of my car, get out, get out. Get out. That's the craziest fucking thing in the world. How are you going to deal with this like it's something that happens all the fucking time? Because look, I'm a guy who's out there and I've seen a bunch of crazy shit. And this is not anything that happens all the time. This was fucking outrageous dudes. And like I said, I know to you it's not scary. It might sound a little freaky. And in the telling, certainly it loses something. But if you would have been in my car at fucking 12:45 a.m. with nobody, and it's so funny, like remember I talked about how the block was dark and filled with people? Well, down in the light, there's just me and him. That was it. And I could have turned at any time, but I was just like, what is going on here with the dance and the weirdness? And I was hypnotized. And when when he dropped his fucking arms and took off running, I will say to my credit, I knew exactly what he was doing. I was like, what the fuck? And I floored it, and he was coming on an angle, and I knew he was trying to get in front of me, because if he got in front of the car, who the fuck knows? Who knows? And it was the fucking craziest thing I've had happen ever. And like I said, I've had homeless guys try to open my door. I've had all sorts of shit. But when you add in the fucking Blair Witch, sinister fucking conjuring dance and laugh, I can only say it's the craziest thing that's ever happened. And I will tell you right now, I hope in fucking 20 years I can still say that that's the craziest thing that ever happened. You guys can get me at MikeandMikeSchmidtComedy.com. You guys can be my friend at Facebook.com/the40year-old-boy. You can follow me at Twitter.com/the40year-old-boy, or is that X? I think it's X. Follow me there. Why not? I'm there. You know, I'm also available at Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok at Mike40YOB. That's Mike40YOB. You can find me there. Why not? I'm just gonna. You know what? I should take a break here because I got to fucking... Yeah, all right. You know what? Let's do that. Well, let's do... You know what? I can do some plugs now. No, I'll do the plugs when I come back, right? Should I take a break? Why am I even telling you this? You know why? Because I have momentum, and this is a part that always turns into a thing for me. Like, I want to end it. I want to just be like, all right, enough. Because my throat and my nose, I got to blow my nose. It's fucking awful. But also, I just want to go, hey, I'll just wrap it up. But fuck that. All right, you know what? Let's... For the first time in a long time... I'll be right back. Oh wait, did I do all the plugs? I'll do other plugs when I come back. But yeah, you guys can get me at Mike and Mike Schmidt. I did all that, right? Instagram, Snapchat, brain fog. It's the brain fog, everybody. God damn it.
This is the Mike Schmidt Podcasting Network.
She wants to borrow my phone. Don't let her. Hope she leaves the scroll bar my friends. Share with them the beautiful one. The guy in my phone is fun. He'll bat his eye and then he'll cry in photo 31.
Hello, driver. It's me, your oil change light, here to ruin your day. Remember that last mechanic who sold you stuff you didn't need and took 3 long, boring hours? Did you trust him? Do you trust anyone anymore? What do I know? I'm just a light.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, where we give you a stress-free oil change in about 15 minutes. Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
Oh, hold on a second. Wait a minute. What was that? Was that commercials in the middle of the show? You've got to be joking. Is that a true thing? It's been so long since I rockin' a roulette. I don't remember what that is. That what's the line in the Zeppelin song? It's been so long since I rockin' a moonlight. Walk in the moonlight. Is that what it is? Probably. Yeah. I usually don't have the commercials in the middle of the show anymore because I'm in such a fucking hurry. Because you know why? Because I look up and I'm like, oh, you're over 2 hours? You should shut the fuck up at this point. Which is a crazy thing because, in the past, I never cared. But my thinking has evolved in this because Oppenheimer's 3 hours long. And in my brain, I'm like, why do I think I should every week give somebody an Oppenheimer? Nobody wants an Oppenheimer from me, do they? Especially with commercials in the middle of it. Nobody wants an Oppenheimer with commercials in the middle. Why are there commercials in the middle? Why? Because I need 14 cents desperately. Oh my Christ, do I desperately need 14 cents? And someone wrote me and they said that there was I think someone said a payday loan company was advertising on my show, or they heard that pop up. And, look, man, I don't know what to tell you. I didn't fucking sign up for that. I think they gave me a form. No, I don't think this. I know this. They gave me a form when we first started doing this. And they were like, hey, man, do you care if there's sex stuff on your show? And I'm like, no, I don't care. But it was also, I think it was like booze and cigarettes. They were like, you want to do that? I'm like, I don't think so. Although that doesn't make any sense, right? Are there cigarette ads on podcasts? Is that what it is? Maybe they gave me some form from like 1964 where they're like, do you care if the Flintstones do a cigarette commercial on your podcast? Well, you know what? I yabba dabba do. I absolutely do fucking care. I yabba dabba do care that Barney and Fred want to talk about cigarettes on my show. Fuck those guys. That just seems rude, right? Of course it does. Why am I mad at them? And also, why are we bookending the show with the Flintstones? I got Fred with the bank earlier. I got Fred now with the cigarettes. Good. And look at Fred with the merchandising. I can't look down on Fred's hustle. Guy's selling fucking banks. The guy's selling fucking smokes. Good for him. Work a heater with the Flintstones on it. All right. I wonder they couldn't have. What cigarette did they sell? Was it shaped like a bone? Like, what's the Flintstones tie into a cigarette commercial? All right, who cares? Guys, did you know that I'm part of the Misfit Toys? And how do I sound? Do I sound a little better? Probably not. I've burgered my throat over the past couple hours, but I did. I put the plunger in my throat and scraped out what I could scrape out, and I've done. I went in for a fluid change. I went in and got the goo removed, as someone was trying to sell you a payday loan trap and steal all your money and take your car. I think, and look. Everybody was like, if you're positive, as long as you're asymptomatic, you can go out. But I mean, if I have this sinus thing, I'm not asymptomatic, right? But I can't stay in my house anymore. I got to go drive people around. I got bills to pay. I'm not like David the Roth. Not all the bills are paid. Haven't made in the shade, and all I really need is the woman. No. Now, do I need the woman? Certainly, but the bills are not paid, and I am not made in the shade. I'm part of the Misfit Toys Co-op, though. Did you know that? I'm telling you right now, fuck. Sorry, guys. I'm overwhelmed by the death of O.J. Simpson, and I keep yawning. Ooh, it's 9/11 right now. It's April 11th. It's 9/11. 4/11, 9/11. And O.J.'s dead still. Maybe he's not. Like I said, he killed himself because I wouldn't stop talking about wrestling. All right. Who's part of the Misfit Toys Co-op? Never Not Funny. It's got Matt and Jimmy and Garen and Elliot, who I think are called the Gang. And I know they're part of the Misfit Toys Co-op. I don't know who else is. I know Danielle's show, Danielle and Kristen, with their show, Ouch, That's Pointy. That's a terrific show. You should check that out. I'm not sure about any of the other stuff, so I'm not going to plug them this time. I'm working off an old list. Nobody keeps me updated on who's in and out at Misfit Toys org. Misfit Toys Co-op. So I'll just tell you that Never Not Funny and Kristen and Danielle, those are shows you should definitely check out. As I yawn again because I've been up fucking forever because my sleep schedule is so fucking weird. Again, it's that thing where I'll sleep 4 hours and all of a sudden it's like 4 a.m. I'm like, oh, I'll just stay up until noon. Fuck. Get a normal schedule. By next week, I have to be back in a normal schedule because I got to be back in the gym at fucking 12:30 every day. Every day seems strong. 3 days, certainly. I don't know. And again, if my lungs don't work, how the fuck can I go back to the gym? Nobody cares. All right, so Never Not Funny is part of the Misfit Toys Co-op along with Danielle and Kristen, and you should check out their shows because they're amazing, terrific podcasts. And here's podcasts that are not part of the Misfit Toys Co-op, and yet I tell you about them because they're grand. You should check them out. Our great friend, Fearful Jesuit, over at the Paranoid Strain, he's got a podcast, rollin', as Limp Bizkit would say. And you should check it out. It's he's got the Chads on there. He's got all sorts of conspiracy theory debunkings, exploring the myths, checking the ancient tomes. He's doing all of these things for you. I owe him a couple of texts. But yeah, our great friend Fearful Jesuit over there at the Paranoid Strain podcast is there waiting for you to download and listen. You can get it in the Apple Podcast space, and you can get it wherever finer podcasts are displayed or given away or played or downloadable, if you will. And our great friend David Hernandez, he does the Flemcat podcast. You know that. It's where him and Derek talk about fishing and then talk about golfing. And then sometimes they talk about golfing while they're fishing. And then I understand they talked about fishing while they were golfing. So you should check that show out. It's amazing stuff. He's singing. He's dancing. He's happy. He's peppy. He's bursting with love. It's my great friend David Hernandez. And he is ready for you. He is ready for you. He's waiting to believe you. That's what the Ghostbusters said at 555-2368. David is out there doing the yeoman's work, doing all the heavy lifting and the good stuff that you expect from a brilliant podcast that has voices and jokes, and I think there's a hello or two in there, and singing as well. A little Gitbox action. Come on, give it a listen. You should. The Flemcat Podcast, and that's 2 words, PHLEGMCAT, and it's available in your finer podcast stations, like I just said, like the Apple one, and I think it's on Amazon and possibly Google Podcasts, as I'm yawning again. It is also available, maybe it's in Spotify, I don't know. I got to be honest, I just know that if you're looking for a great podcast, like the Flemcat Podcast, go to the great podcast containers. Containers? It's you know what? His show comes in like a peanut brittle can, And you have to open the lid, and whoa, look at that. It springs out with a springy snake right there in your ears. It's fucking fantastic. So do that. Go ahead and buy, go to your local magic shop, because we all have them. There is one by me, literally. Whenever I drive by it, I laugh. I'm just like, who the fuck? And I know the Magic Castle's close, but it does make me laugh that anyone's just like in their house going, oh man, I got to get a squirting flower. Jesus Christ. Oh man, I got to go buy your card. But if you go into your local magic shop and you buy a peanut brittle can, there's a good chance the Phlegmcat podcast is in there, cooped up with a springy snake. And when you open it, it will leap into your ear and entertain you 6 ways from Sunday. So go ahead and do that. Go to the magic shop, buy the peanut brittle, and aim it right at your fucking head. It's going to be great. Check it out. I'm on Cameo. Are you aware of that? I am. Easter's gone. What's next? I don't know. Lincoln's birthday, is that coming up? No, I don't think so. April and May showers. April showers bring May flowers. May has Memorial Day at the end, right? Is that the next holiday? Really? Holy fuck. Wait, isn't there no, MLK's birthday is celebrated in January. I'm not joking. In my brain, I was like, April 4th is MLK's birthday. Quite the opposite. But my brain, that's where my brain went. Went to an early morning April 4, and then I had to stop my brain in its tracks and go, hey, fella, you are all wrong. What other holiday is coming up? I'm not sure. Good Lord, there's so many afoot. But I know Memorial Day will be coming. Regardless, folks, look, it doesn't have to be a holiday. If you just want me to call somebody and tell them to have a fine dinner, if you want me to talk somebody through a recipe, if you want me to call somebody and give them a breakdown on how to build a puzzle or something from IKEA, I can do that. Whatever you need from me. I sit here at my desk. There's a green screen behind me. It pops my eyes, which is more than worth the amount of you're paying for the Cameo, and you're thrilled and happy. And so you can get it for yourself. You can get it for your friend. You can get it for Jay. You can get it for Ray. You can get it for Sonny. You can get it for Junie. You can get it for Ray J. But it doesn't have to get it for Ray J. Johnson. I don't think he's going to be interested. But you can get it for anybody else if you want. So please, we had some weird ass celebrities in the 70s. You can call me Ray, or you can call me Jay, or you can call me Ray J, or you can call me Sonny, or you can call me Junie, or you can call me Jay Ray, whatever the fuck. That guy, he had one bit, and he was on fucking every show in the world. Him and also the fucking fast talking guy from the FedEx commercial, John Machida, whose name I know, sadly. But why wouldn't I know John Machida's name if I remember the fucking Popeye Bank from when I was 5? Even in the brain fog, folks, even in the brain fog, I can bring you John Machida, Ray J. Johnson, and the Popeye Bank from 1972. God damn it. That's why you pay for this show. That's why this show's worth the big goddamn dollars. That's why I gotta take a wooden spoon and scrape all the phlegm out of my fucking throat before I drop a fucking, some ridiculous lung butter in your ears. The scum, my throat scum, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah, it makes a whap noise when I cough it up. Oh, I got a wet ass. I can't think of a word. Because I was like uvula, larynx. I don't know. Epiglottis. I got a wet ass epiglottis. That's a whap. All right, it's like macaroni in a pot. What was I saying? Cameo. Hey, I'm on there. See, this is some of the magic you'll get from Cameo. I might wind up talking about a wet-ass pussy, or I might want to talk about throat scum. Who knows? Whatever you book me for, man. Is it somebody's first communion coming up? I'll talk about dry wafers in your throat. I'm happy to do it. If you want a tutorial on how to I don't know. If you want me to just talk dirty, I can do that too, man. It's been so long. I probably still got it in me. I don't know. The COVID may have sapped my will to do it, but I can do it. Whatever you need. If you want me to tell your aunt that you like how she sews stuff, you want me to tell your uncle that you have a crush on your aunt, that's going to be fucking weird. You don't want to do that yourself. You want to dial up the phone and get me involved. Go to bookcameo.com or go to the Cameo app in the App Store and download it to your phone and go, ring, ring, hello, Mike Schmidt. Do you want $25? And I say, yes, I only made 14 cents from the fucking payday loan commercial. And you'll say, okay, cool. Here's 25 big ones. And then I'll tell your aunt Or your uncle all about you and the crush you have on your aunt, you fucking weirdo. But I can do this. I don't even discern. I don't judge. I say fucking weirdo affectionately. Hire me for Cameo. Book Cameo.com or get the Cameo app on your phone. Now, I'm going to mention this, and you're probably going to yell, but I have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Mike40YOB. Thank you to everybody who participates in it. Michael, our friend Michael, has re-signed up. Thank you to anybody who gives me anything or thinks of me, especially, hold on, I'm going to cough. My great friend Suze reached out, and once I had the COVID, I don't know why, but she did. Our great friend Scott, I don't know if Scott wants me to say his full name, but Scott reached out to me and did a really cool thing. And our great friend Patrick, who I did not expect. Our friend Patrick T. and Scott G. These are people who were very kind and reached out with my COVID sickness, realizing I wouldn't be driving. And they said, hey, you know what? Let's help Mike out. And you're so cool to do so. Thank you. So thank you to anybody who ever reaches out, anybody who wants to help, anybody who does a nice thing like that. Those people gave me stuff through PayPal, which you can do if you, PayPal on MikeSchmidtComedy.com. If you go to MikeSchmidtComedy.com in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little horn boy, and you click on that, and you can use the PayPal. Like I said, you can do a monthly thing, or you can just do a one-time thing, or you can tell me to fuck myself. You can do that too. That's fine, and I totally wouldn't blame you if you want to do that. So those are available. My Cameo, which you can book me to say cool things. My Patreon is out there. My PayPal, those are nice. And you know what? I have channels too for you to check out. I'll be honest. I haven't been very active with stuff. Still trying to fix me and my life, but you know how it is. You're all very kind. I have twitch.tv/the40year-old-boy. You can go there and see some funny clips of stuff I used to do, but I will be back there eventually someday. I'm terrified to turn it back on and see that it doesn't work. And also, you don't want to see me now. I need a fucking haircut. Because here's the thing. All right, you know what I do usually? I just shave the sides and the back, right? And we leave the top as is. Might cut it short sometimes. But I'm actually considering getting a haircut, like a grown-up haircut. Because I talked before about going on stage and I look pretty severe with the shaved head. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll get a grown person's haircut. I haven't decided yet. You know why? Because it's fucking $60 to go and get haircuts. And I'm like, holy fuck. And as I just mentioned, especially, the illness from COVID prevents me from going and breathing in somebody's face and getting a fade. But at the same time, I haven't driven, so I'm not making any dough. So I can't exactly just go get a fucking haircut because I got bills to pay, as you know. In fact, I have... Well, I don't want to get into it, but I've been on the phone with some agencies and trying to figure numbers out, and they're not good. Oh, they're not good. Now, is that my fault? Certainly it is. Of course it is. I'm not going to argue with you, but it's still not good. So I've got to figure out what to do there, and we will, right? And again, all I got to do is make it 15 more years. I just got to outrun them. I just got to fucking outrun them is what I got to do. I got to buy some red pants and a red sweatshirt, and I got to start hopping around on one foot and back and forth, and then I got to dead sprint and outrun these motherfuckers. That's what I got to do. Twitch.tv/the40year-old-boy is available for you to check out. Like I said, go look at the clips of me when I was a Twitcher. And I'm still a Twitcher, but back then, oh my goodness, I was twitching up a goddamn storm. Twitch.tv/the40year-old-boy. And then also... you can check me out at youtube.com/the40year-old-boy. And there's some ancient clips of me doing other things, but mainly it's a repository for the archives of this show. And what do I say you should do? Well, why not, go back to year 4 and just select any episode you want and listen to it and laugh and then write a book report. That's what you should do. Write a report and then send it to me. And I'll be so happy. No, I won't. I won't care. I'll be like, what? Why would you do the thing I said? That's a lie that I won't care. I will care, but hold on. I'm drinking to fix my throat. All right, so there you go. Twitch.tv/the40year-old-boy, youtube.com/the40year-old-boy. Now, here's the thing. I will tell you this. Why don't you go subscribe to both of those channels? It costs you nothing. Twitch, you can subscribe with your Amazon subscription, and it gets me $5, but you don't have to do that. Just subscribe or follow the channel. because then they're like, oh, Mike's still alive, and that's a cool thing. And especially because right now, I should tell you this. I also have another podcast that I did last week, and then I got sick. And my face started leaking, and I had to put it on a shelf. But now we're back. So it's called Last Night at Schmitty's. It's a daily podcast. You're right. You're like, it didn't come out this week. Yes, I know. Again, as I've mentioned, my skull is damp. But last week there were a bunch. Go listen to those. And then we're going forward. There'll be one tomorrow, which is Friday, and I might do them on Saturday and Sunday to make up for the fact that we didn't get them on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday because of my fucking head. We'll see. Yeah, and you know what I'm going to talk about? Wrestling. Can't you wait? All right, so there you go. So it's called Last Night at Schmitty's. It's a podcast that is going to just deal with pop culture stuff, and it could be anything. It could be me talking about this even, and or what I did on a drive, or what I watched, or music I like, or stew I ate, whatever the fuck. And is that interesting? I don't know. Will you like it? I'm not sure. Will I do it? Yes. Is that a good idea? Who knows? But it's going to be out there for you to listen to if you want to. And it'll also make me do less 3-hour fucking shows like this one, which I just noticed as I looked up and went, holy fuck. All right. So there you go, guys. Check out Last Night at Schmitty's. It's in the same feed here. If you subscribe to this, it'll be coming out. It's not like you got to go do a whole new thing. Just listen, if you would, or download, and that would be a cool thing. I would certainly appreciate it. And what will we be talking about? Like I said, we'll be talking about some Roadhouses that I watched. I watched some 70s, 60s and 70s kind of like fucking crime films. Those we'll talk about. Did I watch a Russell Crowe double feature? I did. I will talk about all of these things, and you will listen, and we'll be like a team, simpatico. I talk, you listen. You know what? Mex's peanut brittle container show with the spring. Maybe I put mine in a peanut brittle. Maybe you loaded both ears. Put one peanut brittle at each ear and then just fucking shoot a springy show into it. One Flemcat, one me. Whether it's Last Night at Schmitty's or otherwise. Because this is the 40-year-old boy, as you know, the original. This is the humdinger. This is where it all springs from, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, my throat is fucked. I'm going to go sleep, right? I'm going to go, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to go and return Nicole Brown Simpson's glasses, and then I'm going to get some sleep. Fingers crossed. Thank you, guys, for understanding, and I will talk soon.
If there's anything I like more than me, it's people who like me. I love me, but if you love me, I love you. 'Cause you know why, we both love me. How great am I? Let's talk about that for a while, and by a while, I mean forever.
Charlie Doe Podcast.